Peace in Islam. We're just gonna start up our Sunday classes. Today is back to basics, class number 6. Why not? Why not Moorish Canadian? Before we start up, we'll just start up with the prayer. If anybody wants to participate, please do. If not, hold your peace. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through His holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam. Islam. We'll just start up with our reading to be read every meeting. January 15, 1929. A warning from the Prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speeches while on their jobs, homes, and on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the Prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their Prophet, and if they lose confidence in their Prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the Prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the Prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The Prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their Prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the Prophet through the will of Allah to redeem His people from their sinful ways. So it was brought to our attention about those readings that were not being read in every meeting. And the reason why that certain things weren't given to the people, because the idea was to stagnate or to suppress the teachings of Noble Drew Ali. Because when somebody says to you that, during an era of mental enslavement, that the reason why you're enslaved is because of what you classify yourself as or how you identify yourself, right, that individual becomes a threat to the society, right, that is instituting these slave practices. So when he said you're not Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian, he was talking to a broad range of people from different schools of thought. At the same time, people who had a mentality that they were quote unquote slaves, right? And then that's why they're here. So there was a lot of information that Noble Drew Ali put out that was suppressed. And maybe 1980s, you had people like Taj Tariq Bey, C. Freeman L., other Moorish educators. There's a lot more other Moorish educators that took it upon themselves to put this information out and not play, like this is some secret society, whatever, you can't put the information out, blah, blah, blah. So as the information got out, people started getting more conscious, because now the information that was absent from them is now in their hands for them to look at, review, research, or whatever like that, and see how far they get to Now here we are today with, a temple in Canada, so-called, right? When, back then, Noble Drew Ali was connecting with people here to have something here in the 1900s. So it's a manifestation of prophecy of us being able to be blessed enough to have this opportunity. You know what I mean? To say that, yeah, well, even here we're Moors. Right. Even here we're not black, Negro, colored, or whatever, right? So to start off, we wanted to touch on a few things that just came about. My little notes. A few things that just came about. We have there's a new corporate head right now. Just won the election and all that stuff.
Trudeau.
Right. Justin Trudeau. Right. For a lot of so-called Canadians, they look at this individual's father, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, as one of the best out here that ever did it. Right? Now, we know that there's a lot of symbology when we're dealing with the occupational forces, right? When they take over people's land, right? They do it under the guise of they're not part of anything. They're just good Christians or whatever like that, whatever, right? In our studying, we're realizing that majority of the people who call themselves quote unquote government or whatever are in some type of secret order. They belong to something, from secret order down here to like the elite stuff there. You don't even know what they're about. You know what I mean? When you look at say for example, a prime minister, president, or whatever goes to some country, they're not using a regular airport like everybody else, right? Which means that they're probably not even showing no passports or nothing like that when they go wherever they're going.
Yeah, they don't do that.
They just get on the plane, takes them wherever, they get off the plane, they do their little whatever, and then they go about their business, right? So we had, during the time of Pierre Trudeau, this jurisdiction, corporate jurisdiction called Canada, was responsible for a lot of meetings, right, amongst these elite people. So we have Bilderberg Group, we have CFR, Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission. All these individuals that were members of these things would come here to have their meetings when Pierre Trudeau was in power, right? We're gonna put up that we're not even gonna say that we're not even gonna be vague and say, oh, they were Masons, right? We'll deal with them with the codes that they used to put out that nobody pick up on the code. Right. So Pierre Trudeau, there's a famous picture of Pierre Trudeau, and you just go online, just Google Pierre Trudeau, it's probably 5th, 6th picture or whatever in the images thing, of him with a rose in his mouth. Mm-hmm. Right? The head of the rose is broken off, and he has the rose in his mouth. Right? We know that he was a Rosicrucian. Right? That's why he always had the rose on the lapel. Always. It was a thing that it was a ritual for him to let his peeps know that, he's still down with this stuff, you know what I mean? I know I'm the prime minister and all that stuff, but don't think that I'm down with the stuff. You know what I mean? You could still count on me for all the secret meetings or whatever like that. When Pierre Trudeau died, Justin Trudeau did the eulogy, right? Had his rose on, right? So they're showing the transition of power from the father to the son or whatever, right? In the Rosicrucian or Freemasonic, occult, alchemical bodies of individuals that are in control, right? The 25th or 25 is a powerful number for them, right? That's a number that they use regular, right? Justin Trudeau was born on December 25th, right? So he's their light bearer. He's the reawakening of, you know what I mean, this energy that Pierre Trudeau had during that time.
Right.
So during the eulogy, and you can check it out online or whatever, in the eulogy speech, Pierre Trudeau's talking about, Justin Trudeau's talking about, his father took him to military installation in Northwest Territories. You know what I mean? Ice everywhere and snow and, just me by myself. None of my other brothers or nothing like that. It was lonely and whatever. But, we went there. And one day, we were driving whatever. And we got to this red army, what are one of those army freaking warehouse, whatever. And I got out and I was running to the door and he said, no, don't use the door, go to the window. And I went to the window and I wiped off the, you know what I mean? And everybody's in the crowd just like, oh, is he gonna tell him what? I looked in the window and I saw the red suit with the white trim. And then I knew, wow, my father is one of the most powerful men, because he took him where Santa Claus was.
Oh shit.
Well, you see them things, right? No, it goes
And
deep.
then everybody in the
But it goes deep, right?
Right?
It goes respect.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, it's Santa Claus and all these things. It's a deep thing, man. It's like I say, they give names to certain things.
Right.
It's like you have to think to yourself, why are they always going to the North Pole?
Yeah.
Right? There's a reason why. There's something up there, right? That most people don't even know the earth that they live on. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be in tune with what's nature and what's really where you really live.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then you would catch what they're
Certain
talking
things,
about.
yeah.
Catch what they're talking about, like
Yeah.
Santa Claus and all that.
Right. Now, the question that we have to ask ourselves, forget about is Santa Claus real, Santa Claus whatever, right? What's Santa Claus doing on some military whatever?
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's
How's Santa Claus,
Right.
who's children and gifts and whatever like that, but he's in some military installation,
Right.
talking about, he knows Pierre Trudeau,
Mhm.
right? Comes back again to the symbology with the red rose and all this Rosicrucian stuff that they get down with. Now, as well, when we have Trudeau was 15th Prime Minister, right? 15-year term. Served his 15-year term. And again, we're talking about occult symbology and things of that nature. So we got 15 years as PM. He's the 15th PM. But his son, to end off the ritual, in 2015, became Prime Minister. Right? So they know exactly what they're doing. They're very clear as to the direction of where they're going. Because remember, 25th of December is not just Jesus, it's also Lucifer. It's also the light bearer, Baphomet and all that type of stuff. So they have their little game running for their little pawns out there, think that, here is the son of one of our greatest prime ministers now taking the mantle. But what is he taking the mantle of? What is he inheriting? What is he being brought into? Okay. Keeping the fiction alive. That's why he told his Santa Claus story. Show you how much of a fiction it is. Right? Now, because he got in, remember he had the remember they were leading up to him, getting in this position when he had the little fight with the one guy.
Yep, I just watched it today.
Who is fighting?
They had some freaking wrestling, boxing stuff, him and some other politician guy, they had some whatever, and then they figured, let's just get in the ring or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Trudeau bust the guy's ass, right? Because the guy was, more muscular and, you know what I mean? The Rocky story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he's supposed to be the one that's pushing the whole cultural perspective, right? He's saying that
Peace, man.
he's pushing the whole cultural thing, the whole multiculturalism and all that, right? Because he's got he won his little stuff, and then he went and did his little dance with the Hindu people or whatever like that, jumping around the place, right? So they're down. Yeah. So they got him, right? He got them, whatever. Their crew, right? He's gonna say they want to legalize marijuana, right? And not only legalize marijuana, but make sure you put it in there, tax it too. Which is not really making it.
You can't legalize it without taxing it.
As soon as it's legalized and they say tax it, you know that.
You know what it's all.
You know what's going on, right? It's just another thing you're gonna have. Just like how they have the packages
stores,
in the store, the cigarettes or whatever, like packaged weed that they're selling, right? And then he has his little tattoo of the Hater Raven, right? Now in a cult, Raven is, new beginning. In a cult, Raven is the making something. The story of the Raven being black is because when the Raven was a white bird, and then the Raven couldn't keep his secrets. So Apollo made the Raven black as punishment for not being able to keep secrets or whatever. Okay? So, and then once it became black, then it became, mysterious, zip the lip and these things, right? And then he has that as his tattoo, but it's in the form of the Aboriginal Indigenous whatever, totem pole thing, right?
Right.
Getting all the indigenous people down with the stuff, because if he's gonna tattoo them, then that means that anywhere he goes, the tattoo goes with him, which means that he's down with it, and then he's promoting our stuff. When really and truly, they got their own stuff going on.
Right.
You don't have nothing to do with them and all that stuff. It's all part of the get all of these people to be down with 000023 0098. Canada Corporation. And once they get everybody in Canada Corporation, then they dissolve it and take everything that everybody owns, including that weed stuff that they got that think that's legal and all that stuff, right? Now, keep in mind, when we talk about Trudeau, we're talking about Bilderberg Group, Trilateral Commission, Council on Foreign Relations, all these summit, G8 summit, G7, all those type of stuff. All that is the level of so-called Masonic connections that we're talking. We're not talking about these minions down here, Order of Columbus and Order of whatever and Scottish Rite and Shriners, and we're not talking about them people. We're talking about the top Masons. We're talking about the ones that go anywhere they want in the world, no passport. No need to show no card or nothing like that, because they're dealing with bloodline. They're dealing with bloodline. Right? They're not talking about belonging to some order. They're talking about this is successorship. Right? And again, the successorship is to get the people to be part of and down with 0000230098 Canada Corporation, whose head office is Washington, D.C., and their business office is Department of Finance. So why not Moorish Canadian? Because once you say that you're this, you're in this jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Automatically. Right? They say, Black Canadian, you're in this. They, West Indian Canadian, Native Canadian, whatever. As soon as you tag this onto it, as soon as you tag that, you tie yourself into this position right here.
Realm.
Right? The corporate realm that nobody wants to be in, especially during the time now that we know is the Aquarian age, and that you're supposed to be enlightening yourself.
Right.
You're not supposed to be digressing in the Aquarian age, right? Because we talked about the karma. You're putting it on yourself by agreeing to that. So you have situations now where they got their little agents out there, and all of a sudden all these agents are getting invites and are starting to come here. So we had was supposed to be yesterday. Today, you got Irritated Genie, who's here, lecturing today,
Where?
yesterday.
You mean
Right.
in Toronto?
In Toronto, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right? He's up at one of these spots up here. Right? You know, and the people who's running that, let those people know, that guy is Department of Homeland Security.
Mhm.
He's not no conscious community whatever. Anybody talking about kill crackers and can't bring the body of the cracker that they killed for me to verify that, okay, yeah, you're down with the kill cracker, that guy's a fraud agent working for somebody trying to rile people up to go do something stupid and get themselves in worse stuff than they're in already.
Yeah, it's just like that Black Lives Matter bullshit
Yeah.
going on over
Same
in
stuff.
America.
Same stuff. Because remember, that came here too. They had Black
Yeah.
Lives
Yeah,
shutting
they-
down Allen
yeah,
Road and all that
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So they have these agents that have this
Mhm.
hype about them coming here to do certain
Yeah,
things.
yeah, to rile up people.
Right? Rile people up, completely divert their attention away from, we've been here 7, 8 years. You know what I mean? And again, we're not in the business of try convince people, come to the Moorish side and you know, flyers and all that stuff. Right? Because this is for people who are already here. This is for people who are anciently tied to the history of the Moors, whether they know it or not. As soon as they come in the door, they'll know that this is where it's about being. It's not even going to be anything that they have to argue with anybody about. They just gravitate to this, right? Another one that they use is polite. Another one that they use, that he's doing stuff in Canada.
Who's that?
Polite. Brother Polite.
Brother Polite.
Right?
Yeah.
This is in Canada.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go to Toronto and do whatever. Toronto's a private corporation. You just go check the tickets around here and they'll tell you the corporation of the city of Toronto, the corporation of the city of Mississauga, the corporation of the city of Brampton, the corporation of the city of whatever. It's all corporate, but they're not gonna push that in their classes. They're gonna push black sovereignty and be sovereign and stay black and all that stuff. Black power when.
And they know better.
Oh, they way know better.
Oh, they just trying to collect
Right?
some truck, man.
They way know better.
Yeah.
So anybody talking about they're coming to Canada and you know black Canadians and stuff like that, they have a agenda from somebody else. They have a handler that's making them talk how they're talking.
Right.
And we completely remove ourselves from this. Matter of fact, the fact that we remove ourselves from this is why enough people don't want to get down with this, because they want to be Canadian. Right? Any questions, comments? Yeah. So we say Moorish American because that was the program. Because remember that the teachings of Noble Drew Ali, the teachings of the Moorish Science Temple, the Moorish Divine and National Movement, is a program. It's not a negative program like DT or whatever, but it's a program. It's getting us back to where we were when he was around. Why we move with this. Instead of bringing something new as a Moorish Canadian, and nobody ever heard of that ever before.
Well, this is all America anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
You know what I mean? So and then when you say Canada, this is for all the people who like to follow polite and whatever like that, and want to talk about Canada is something. When you say Canada, really what you're saying is New France. So this guy is making all these individuals that classify, consider themselves black people or whatever, making them French when they're Asiatic, indigenous, aboriginal to the land. Right? And this is where they won't go, never go, because as soon as they start going here, the next question is going to come, why don't you just get with the Moors who's been saying this for the past 7 years to these people? Why are you getting new stuff? Why is there a new store? Why you start a new movement? Why are you bringing all these Department of Homeland Security people here to come teach when people in here, all these people out here could get anybody up in here that has this much knowledge and go get some church or go get something and pay them $1,500, $5,000 or whatever to go do some lecture about why they're not black people.
Right.
And try to correct these people's concepts. But it's not about correcting people's concepts. It's about keeping people deaf, blind, and dumb so they remain under the jurisdiction of the corporation. From Canada to Ontario to Toronto, etc. When Noble Drew Ali said that we're Moorish American, he was saying that for the public record. He was making it known to the world that this is the jurisdiction, this is the status, this is the nationality of these individuals that are classified as Negro, Black, Colored, Ethiopian, African, or whatever else. This is what it is. This is what they are if they're in America. If they're not classified as this, more than likely, they're falling under jurisdiction of Canada, the U.S. Corporation. That's just what it is. It's not anything that you can really get away from, because you can't serve two masters, right? It's not going to happen where you serve two masters. You can't live if you serve two masters, right? Once you serve in two masters, you classify yourself as their property. Islam.
Islam.
Alright. Raquel. Alright. So we want everybody to be clear that, you know, us making the claim and stating that we're Moorish American is not only tying us to the land, but it's also tying us to Noble Drew Ali, because we have to always remember that he is a focal point to the destruction of the occupational forces in the Americas, right? He brought everybody with him. He went and he got Garvey in Atlanta prison. Went and got him. Said, well, tell these people that they're just stop playing universal Negro crap. Go get these people. Garvey came out of prison, wrote a letter to all the Garveyites, told them, you know, the only way you're going to be happy if you have a nationality. At that time, who's talking about nationality other than Noble Drew Ali? It's 1 and 1 equals 2. All the people had to do was just go get down with that. But they couldn't do that because, you know, as soon as they got Garvey out the way, they got Drew Ali out the way, now the people are in limbo. They don't even know where to go to proclaim to be what they're supposed to be anciently. They don't even know where to go. And then the individuals who were taught, just like Muhammad had his people that were around him, Jesus had his people around him, Buddha had his people around him, Confucius had the people around him that he was teaching, and they were supposed to go out and teach the gospel to the people, and they said, "Nah, we're gonna get this fiat or whatever. We're gonna get these gold spoons and stuff like that from people instead of teaching them what they're supposed to be taught." Right? Selling out the people. To have the people where they are right now, that they're following,
There's
all
always,
these clowns.
There's always a sellout, you know.
Always.
It's like, you gotta find somebody with heart, man. There's a lot of people running around this place
Heartless.
got no heart.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Heartless. And again, when we say that the people, that you brought that term up, right? Noble duality said love is the first principle. So when you have heartless people, they obviously don't have this. When you have people talking about 4,300 for some papers so you can be free, clearly they're not vibrating on this frequency right here. Right? As well, another term, ruthless. Right? These are the worst people. The ruthless people. Because they have no tie to Ruth, who was ancient Moabitess. Everybody knows or whatever that she was a Moabitess. And Noble Drew came and told the people, "Oh yeah, we're descendants of ancient Moabites." But then people are going to not think Moors are ancient. How are Moors ancient people? How are people going to say Moors only go back to Turks or whatever? Moors only go back to 1492 and 711. When Ruth is before Jesus. Ruth is before Solomon and all them people. Right? So to be ruthless is to be heartless, is to have no love, is to be an enemy of noble duality. And 90% of the people out there who say that they're for their people or whatever are enemies to noble duality.
They're enemies to themselves too.
Right? Which ultimately is what it is. And then if you're an enemy to yourself, then you're obviously an enemy to your brother.
Exactly.
And your sister. Right? Now we wanted to also go into the divine warning, but I wanted if somebody could just check this out. Check Ward in here. Because we also have to talk about our good friend, the so-called queen, that claims this as her, she says it herself, her realm. Canada is her realm. When you're in the realm of Canada, you become a ward. Not only a ward, but a ward of the crown. So for us here, it's played out when you go to court and it's Regina versus. But Regina ain't never in court when you go there. But she's against you though.
Right.
She's the one that's bringing charges against you, not the police or judge or whatever. Regina. And Regina's before the one who we got right now. So she's definitely not going to be showing up or whatever to no court dates. She's not even on the planet anymore.
Right.
But again, with these occultists, words that they use, like we're talking about with the vampire, and then we tell our people vampire and they think, the guy coming to bite their neck or whatever, when it's really energy suckers. Right? As soon as they start saying things like this, realm, right? She's talking about, Jubilee and stuff like that. You know that they're dealing in totally different jurisdiction than anybody else is dealing with. And to be a ward, right, is bad enough. But to be a ward of the crown, this is like a sub basement. You can easily get out of ward status. But when you get under the jurisdiction of that the crown owes you, then you're really their property. That's why they had all these so-called provinces or crown corporations when they started. Because the crown stepped in and said, yeah, we're the all of the whatever and we claim whatever. And then, they wait 30 days. Nobody said nothing. Nobody rebut nothing or whatever. All right, that's a law. Next place. Yeah, we claim whatever. Nobody says nothing. The native people, they're quiet. Well, they're going to be quiet because they're not really natives. They come from China or whatever. They already took their little check so they could be on the reserve, tucked away somewhere. You know what I mean? They're not going to be bothered.
They know what's up.
They know what's up, right? They have their little handout that they got, right? They have their little card, says that they're Indian, so they can just show their stuff and they get taxes off, whatever like that, when their property too, right? Ward,
guardian, care, charge, as the ward of a castle, so in the phrase, watch and ward. A division in the city of London committed to a special ward, guardianship of an alderman. A territorial division is adopted in most American cities by which the municipality is separated into a number of precincts or districts called wards for purposes of police, sanitary regulations, prevention of fires, elections, etc. A corridor, room, or other division of a prison, hospital, or asylum. A person, especially an infant, placed by the authority of law under the care of a guardian.
So King Alfred's plan said that the so-called black people, they have nowhere to go. If it kicks off, there's no asylum for them in any other country. The only asylum that they have is if they're a ward. The only safe haven that they have is if they're a ward. But then, we have Noble Ali, who came and founded Moorish Divine National Movement. Started this thing called Moorish Science Temple, which is supposed to be your asylum. Just like when the brothers went to court and they were trying to say, well, we're gonna kidnap you because you didn't give whatever corporate identification. They're like, all right, whatever, do whatever you, because I don't got no corporate identification to give. And a Moor that's not kidnapped went to them and said, yeah, I'm representative of that guy that you guys got kidnapped. And then they let them do whatever it is that, they're supposed to do as far as having that individual under their own recognizance, no bail, no call somebody, come to go and whatever like that. Let that individual who got kidnapped on their own sign their way out of prison. Sign their way out of being kidnapped. Because asylum. Right? So once we say that we're Moorish American, regardless of what jurisdiction, whether it's here, whether it's south of here, once we say Moorish American, we're saying that we're not infant. We're not a ward that somebody has jurisdiction over to say do this, do that. Because remember that the only reason that they're exercising their occupation here is because the so-called real guardians have took a position of classifying themselves as something that they're not and end up being corporation. Right? So we want to keep in mind that as soon as they say you got ID and you give a license, you're that. As soon as they say, well, let me rephrase that. As soon as they say, give me whatever instrument, and the instrument is signed by yourself without reservation of rights, then you're that. If you reserve your rights on those documents, you don't become a ward. Because that's why you reserve your rights on it. So that you have the ability to not be in this status if stuff goes down that you don't really like how way things are going. Because we know that it's an issue to just say this and then go with it. In certain situations, you might have to give straw man name or whatever, depending on what it is that you're dealing with, right? You're not gonna have the luxury in 2015 of saying this, and they just go with it just because, oh yeah, you said that, so we're just going with it. Because again, the suppression of this information, the suppression of recognizing what this is, recognizing that Toronto is a corporation, Ontario is a corporation, Canada is a corporation, US is a corporation, NY, NJ, FL, all these so-called states of whatever are all corporations. Because of the suppression of all this information, those things got boosted. They got power because nobody's challenged them in 80, 90 years until more start coming around, going to court, say, oh, challenge jurisdiction of the court. You guys have no jurisdiction. I want to see your delegation of authority. I want to see some type of document from you to prove that you're even qualified to call yourself court. Before that, it's just go in there. What's your name? Oh, John, whatever. Okay, charge, sentence, fine, whatever, and continue on with the fraud. Now that we're standing up for the fact that, hold on a second, all these tags that you've given us are corporate tags. We're not going back to who we really are. They're not taking it as serious as they should take it. One, because it took us so long just to get to this, that they were able to put so many things in place that you can't even say, like with the thing, you can't even just go sue somebody when they violate you. Because as soon as you go to put on the paper, okay, yep, here to file the suit, they're going to say, oh yeah, $350 to file this. What do you mean it's $350? It's not oh sorry, I'm a pauper because ain't no money, so you should file this for free. And then now they got another stuff to deal with that they don't want to deal with, that you're admitting that there's no money. So why are you suing then if there's no money? Because if you sue, it's supposed to be able to get a dollar sign on there. No, because law dictionary, a suit is to get a right back. Suit has nothing to do with money. So as soon as we say we're going to sue somebody, their mentality is, oh, he probably has some information or whatever like that. So to get out of the suit, they're going to say that we're diverse. I'm European. He's saying that he's Moor, so he can't sue. That's Article 21:20 of the treaty. If a Moor sue a European have issue with a Moor, you can't really do anything because there's a treaty that says you can't do nothing to no European when they violate, because it's diversity of citizenship. So they have all these things that they put in place to make sure that either you fall into this jurisdiction or you're governing yourself under this jurisdiction where we don't even have to deal with them. And we're trying to get our people to realize that it's all about governing ourselves in our own jurisdiction so that we don't have to deal with those people. It's all about us saying we have our own plates, so we don't need those guys' plates. Because Because we have our own stuff. We're Aboriginal indigenous people. Rights of indigenous people say that we have a right to do certain things. Right? And again, when they start playing this game of, trying to get you in the jurisdiction, don't get mad at them. Recognize that it's our own people that sold us out or whatever. Why we're even in this situation right now. It's not them. They're just, doing what they gotta do to survive. They're bankrupt. They got superior inferiority complex when it comes to our people. You go on the elevator, people hold their purse and stuff like that because they're terrified of us. I ain't wronging them. You know what I mean? Look what we did to them. You know what I mean? Like, this is what we did to them. Think about, being a European and you're just, look at the Somali pirate stuff. When these people are just taking these guys. Just taking them, ransom, 1,000, ransom, 80 million, ransom, whatever. That's today in fiat. Back then, during the Barbary Wars or whatever, these people had to go pawn off anything that they got. People had to go bring their wife or whatever. So I'll give you my wife to let me go. Because they didn't have anything then. So now, they see that we're talking about, we're not Negro black colored. We're Moors now. Immediately they're going back into their little genetic memory bank, 200 years or whatever they got that they remember. And they're thinking back about all those stuff that was going on in ships and stuff. Right? They're thinking back about the harems and, true romance. You know what I mean? Eggplants going around. Eggplants going around and impregnating all these women or whatever. You know what I mean? Changing their eye color from blue to brown. Changing their hair color from blonde to dark brown, burgundy, whatever. Just because of the dominance of our gene. And we can't wrong them for being absolutely terrified. When more start coming in the court, they got fezzes on. Take that fez off or whatever. I ain't taking no fez off. This is not baseball hat. This is my national headwear. Oh man, he knows about national head. Oh, he didn't say it's a religious thing. Oh man, now we're really in trouble or whatever, right? So know that it's our people. So our thing has to be to, let our people know, one, that don't get mad at European, same thing that they did to us, why we're mad at them. Oh, yeah, they put us in slavery and whatever like that. Oh, well, we put them in slavery first. So who should really be mad? Who should really be the one that's upset? You know what I mean? It shouldn't be us. Because they're the ones that got it first. And all they're doing is law of retribution, slap me, I slap you back. They're just slapping with, hands like this, and we're giving the finger slaps. Right? Good. Any questions or comments? Or any, cause we have some new people, if we got some testimonials, you can put those up, with regard to the whole ward status, corporate status, things that might have happened, so that people could know how real it is. Yeah.
All pastors, they have a certificate, right? They go to like normal universities and stuff to get.
Yeah, they have their what's it called? Theologian, whatever, doctorate or whatever. So they have their stuff, and they choose not to say anything. Because they could, you know, you got even Kirk Franklin coming out saying Jesus is a fraud and stuff right now.
Who's the religion?
Oh.
Kirk Franklin coming out saying that all that stuff that he was talking or whatever like that from the pulpit was a fraud. No such thing as Jesus. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then we put it up there like, yo, you know, when you start realizing that you've been playing people and, you know, especially playing them under the guise of religion and stuff like that, you know, certain forces are gonna step in and, you know, deal with your case. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like, one of the stuff them that they need to know before they graduate is when Christianity started and by who and
Oh yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
It's like one of the major stuff is
Oh yeah. They have to know.
the corporation.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Council of Nicaea, all that stuff. Right? Constantine having a vision of the cross and then them using that as the symbol to go pillage the world and all that stuff. They know all that. But then if they tell, you know, either like there's a video on YouTube about some African pastor or whatever, then people realized that he was playing them. And then they were kicking the door in of the church to try to get this guy. This guy's on the roof, like trying to get away from people on the roof. Right? He's on the roof because the people are like, we're gonna hold you. When we hold you, we're gonna deal with your case for all this stuff that you've been doing. And you know what I mean? That's low level. He was stealing money. They're not even dealing with the fact that he was lying to them about, you know what I mean, everything else. They're just dealing with the money part, huh?
What if they get that far?
Where?
Like the truth plus the money, you know, that.
Oh yeah. I mean, they were. I don't know what was behind that door there, but you know what I mean. They were beating that door in. Like guys were doing the running kick on the doors, right? And the door wasn't budging.
But it's like America right now. There's the same thing going on, right? It's like
People are waking
people
up.
have been lied to their whole lives, right? So it's like the thing with the gun thing. They're trying to confiscate all their guns.
Yeah.
They're scared of all them rednecks coming for them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Because you know those are the only ones. The quote unquote rednecks are the only ones that are really citizens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all these so-called Negro, black, color, whatever, they got gun club and you guys can't take our guns or whatever. You guys ain't.
Yeah.
You guys aren't even citizens. You know what I mean? Law says you guys can't be citizens.
Yeah.
So you're really an insurgent. That's why they go after them. And they don't go after the rednecks. The redneck will be on the corner with his, you know what I mean? And remember, when we see people always gonna go out, well, Black Panther had guns and yeah, but Black Panther weren't killing no Europeans.
Yeah.
Black Panther wasn't pinging off people, seeing people running down the street, pinging them off and stuff like that. They were just, you know, you guys shoot and we'll shoot back or whatever. We're just letting you know that we got the stuff here. We're just standing here so you know. But they weren't. That wasn't their MO. You know what I mean? Kill Europeans. You know, because the Europeans, Black Panther Party said, you know, white power for white people. They weren't. You know what I mean? Black power for black people. They were dealing with universal law.
Yeah.
Everybody has the right. It's not no color game. Even though they call themselves Black Panthers and all that, but it wasn't no color game that they were playing like these guys are playing today. The white man has guns, so we gotta get guns, and they got guns, and then their children are learning to shoot. We gotta teach our children how to shoot. Oh, you're teaching children how to shoot. Shoot what? None of these guys never shot nothing ever. What they gonna shoot? Playing around, getting people riled up again. You know what I mean? Using them, get their energy going. Once they get their energy going, then now they got them.
Yeah.
Because their energy is going, but their mind's stagnant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Have a gun and no mind is useless. You might as well not have a gun.
I had a little testimonial that I went to yesterday. It might be a little bit inspiring for some new people coming in. So to give a little backdrop, I have the video, I taped it, so if you want to, if everybody can hear it, I can just plug it into the speakers.
Yeah.
It's about a 3-minute testimonial. So my one of my friends, he's a mixed martial artist, and he had a grappling tournament, and he wanted me to travel with him because he's a little nervous because he's on charges or whatnot, right? So he's always nervous when he comes around to Boydum. So anyways, we're traveling from Hamilton to out here for his grappling tournament, and we see this OPP van, and he does good for himself, right? So he's got a good little whip, a Benz AMG, and so we're coming and we see him, and I'm like, yo, listen, I guarantee some funky business is about to happen. So we pull by this guy, and he's just looking in the car, and I was like, oh yeah, here we go. So anyways, we're in the HOV lane, he's on the outside lane, so he passes us, gives us that, the shade down, looks, drives by, and goes in front of us and gets into the HOV lane. So my brother comes out of the HOV lane now, and now the HOV lane slows up, so we end up passing him again. So now that we pass him, he gives us that second look. I'm like, yo, this guy's gonna try something. Next thing you know, he comes behind, pulls him over. Right? So I'm telling my brother, I'm like, just be cool, I'll handle this. I mean, it's nothing big. So I'm gonna play the video as soon as, because the first part I didn't record, but the second part I'm like, yo, I need to get this on video, because I'm about to, put him in his place. Not aggressively too, like not boasting or anything, just let him know where he stands. So he pulls us over, comes up to my window, the guest window, and he's like, oh, so you do have passengers in the car? And I'm like, what? He's like, oh, I couldn't see if you had passengers in the car and you were driving in the HOV lane. I was like, okay, well, you see everyone's in here now. We're good to go. My brethren is bummy. My brethren is bummy. The OPP's like, okay, just give me your license and I'll check it out and then I'll let you go. So my brethren's reaching out. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, yo, he wanted to see if anybody was in the car. Everybody's in the car. We should be good to go. Obviously, my brethren is bummy. Hands over his obviously the strawman identification. He's on charges, so I'm like, yo, here we go. He goes back to his car. He's there for like 15 minutes, and one of his conditions is he's not allowed to be around certain people, right? So there's me and this girl that's in the car, and obviously they're like, wow, we're gonna come back trying to see who's who. So he comes back now. This is before I started recording. He comes back now. Everybody else is. Yeah, he comes back now, and he's like, yeah, everything checks out, but we just realized that he's on some charges, so we need to check everybody's identification. I was like, whoa, what do you mean? I'm like, no, it's not happening like that. He's like, wow, we need to make sure you're not someone that's in one of his conditions. I'm like, listen, ain't got nothing to do with me. First and foremost, I'm a guest in this car. You pulled him over for a highway traffic infraction, ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm like, I don't need to identify myself. And then he's getting angry now. He's like, well, we'll see about that. Then he takes off, right? So I'm like, okay. I'm gonna just make this real simple. So I call OPP head office. I was like, listen, I want you little highwaymen just pull this over. This guy's harassing me, telling me to identify myself unlawfully. I'm like, this is the exit I'm at. Send your supervisor, right? So when he's in the car, he gets a call that his supervisor's coming back, and this is when I start recording. So now backup comes, like 4 or 5 OPP cars come. Backup comes. Supervisor's on his way. Everything changes.
Supervisor's coming.
So this is when I start recording.
Supervisor's coming. Oh
yeah.
Speaker on? You're having too much fun.
I know. I know. That's what I was saying. But I was being, real calm, real collected.
Yeah.
Wasn't trying to boast here. But for like the new people, I just let them know that it's real. So once again, this is the officer. Can I get your name? Pardon me? Your name and badge number, please.
It's Constable Tim Healy, Healy, badge 10982.
Okay,
I understand you've requested our supervisor to come out.
Can I get your name and badge number, please?
Constable Westhead 13820.
Badge number?
13820.
Perfect, thank you.
So your friend says he's in a hurry to get to this tournament.
That doesn't mean that I have to give up my lawful right to keep my own personal
Are you
information.
interested in facilitating any of this to him, or?
The fact of the matter is, your investigation was whether or not there was passengers in the car while he was in the HOV lane. That was the immediacy of your investigation. The fact is, that's been confirmed that there was guests traveling with him, so he was allowed to be in the HOV lane. So there should be no more interaction here, because that was obviously confirmed that there's people in the car while he was in the HOV lane. Therefore, there's nothing left for us to speak about. Now you guys are trying to coerce me to identify myself, fully knowing that you guys are both now participating in unlawfully requesting my identification, where I have no need to identify myself to any of you guys.
Your friend is on conditions.
It doesn't matter if he's on condition. That has nothing to do with me.
Those are specific.
Me. Has nothing to do with
We need
me.
to ascertain that he's
You don't
in
need to-
violation of those.
He's not in violation.
How do we know that?
But it doesn't matter because unlawfully, you guys can't ask for my identification because I'm a guest in this car. Lawfully. Whether you guys study law or not, that's up to you guys. But when your supervisor comes down here, we should be able to rectify the situation easily. Your investigation has nothing to do with me. I'm not under investigation. Am I under investigation?
Your friend is.
Am
your
I
friend-
under
you know what,
investigation?
sir? You are free to get out of this car and walk down.
So I'm
the
not
highway.
I'm not being detained.
No, you're not.
I'm not under arrest.
No, you're not.
So I'm free to go at any time.
You can walk away anytime you
Am I
want.
free to go at any time? Am I free to go at any time?
Yes, so why didn't you let
I'm free to go at any
man
time.
drive the
I
car?
need a yes or no. Free to go at any time? Okay, perfect.
Gotcha.
So I'm just gonna walk to
get out the car now.
the next exit while you guys conduct your investigation here. So obviously I'm not needed.
So the whole thing that they're trying to do is investigate whether or not the people are with him,
Right.
is he allowed to be with. So I'm telling because my brethren's getting balmy. So I'm telling them, don't worry, I handle this. I'm gonna remove myself from the situation.
Absolutely.
Then there's gonna be nothing left for them to investigate.
Exactly.
No, there's nobody. There's nobody in the car.
Exactly.
You want to walk.
Yeah, you can walk.
I gotta get out and walk. And then that's not an issue if I'm walking on the highway. It's not a
You
safety.
can't walk on the highway.
It's not a, so how do I leave then?
You have to be off the highway.
Okay, so I can walk on the shoulder. And I'm not gonna be
The highway. That's
so I can walk over. I can jump the fence then. Because right now, you guys are just wasting my time. You just said I'm free to go and I'm not being arrested, I'm not being detained.
Yeah, you're not.
So can I step out of this car safely then?
Pardon me?
Can I step out
So
of
I'm
this car
asking, I'm
safely
trying to
then?
get shot.
Certainly.
I'm speeding up, trying to get out of the car, right? If I can get out safely, now the girl's in the back, she's bumping
I
too.
want you guys to try to arrest me.
Yo, let's go, let's go.
So you're saying I can walk on the grass here, because it's off the highway. I'm just making sure. Sure. And I can get picked back up.
Because I know you're gonna have to let him go, so I'll make sure I can pick me back up.
Or we have to choose to leave when the supervisor comes. Yo, listen, we're free to go.
So I told the girl in the back, I'm like, yo, this is his girl. I'm like, yo, we're free to go. You know what I mean? And now my buddy looking at me like, what's going on? And then, you know, I casually, you know, get on the other side. And then I, you know, I hop over the fence.
What's the David Banner?
And yeah, so that was the end of the interaction. But that was just, at that time, I was just putting him in his place because before I started videotaping, they were telling me that I have to identify myself. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, first of all, I'm not driving, nor am I operating this car. So you can't, because he tried to use failure to identify. He's like, yeah, I'm going to arrest everybody in here for failure to identify. I'm like, nah, our traffic act only applies to people who are driving. And we're passengers in this car now. So that was just a little, it wasn't really nothing big for, you know, the ones who exercise, but it was just something to show that.
But it's big enough to show.
Yeah, exactly. Let people know that they know that a lot of the things that they do are unlawful. Because before I started recording, this guy was puffing up and he was saying, oh, everybody's gonna get arrested for failure to identify. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no one here is driving that you're asking to identify himself. The driver, so-called driver, already identified himself. And then he's like, oh, we'll see about that. So now my Reggie is in the car shaking. Now he's like, oh, I'm going to the bin. Da, 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 da. I just wanted to go to the tournament. I'm like, don't worry about it, I'll handle it. So then that's when I just started thinking, rather than getting them to request a supervisor, I just took a preemptive measure. I was like, you know what, I'm going to call them myself. I called them in, and then when I was on the phone with the guy's like, oh, well, we can't send a supervisor unless we know who's calling. Trying to get me to identify myself. I'm like, listen, buddy, I'm not here to debate or argue. I'm like, send your supervisor here. I'm like, so I gave him the exit that we're on. I'm like, this is the exit that we got pulled over. I'm like, send your supervisor here. Because I'm like, from previous experience, it doesn't make sense you argue with the little highwayman who's not gonna wanna, you know, hear what you're saying. It doesn't make sense. I'm like, yo, get someone they have to answer to. And as soon as he realized his supervisor was coming down, I was telling him that, listen, lawfully I don't have to identify myself. And what they're doing by requesting my identification is unlawful. All of a sudden everything changed. You guys like, yeah, you're free to go at any time. But that's not what he was saying 5 minutes ago, you know what I mean? So,
But the thing about it too is that he came to you, the guest, first. He did not come to the
so he comes to the driver, right? Exactly.
Right? So then therefore the operator has nothing to do with it. That's a different situation.
Exactly. And what he came to me for, he couldn't have because he
Yeah.
pulled him over based on the HOV thing.
Yeah.
But now failure to identify, which
No.
is what I've dealt with twice already, the failure to identify. I'm like, yo, listen, that doesn't even apply to me right
Yeah.
now. I wouldn't even
he didn't ask you to identify yourself as a guest anyway.
No.
So then it doesn't really coincide with the driver.
Exactly, that's what I was trying to tell my director. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna handle this because once I leave,
Yeah. It's
who
done.
are they gonna, what
Exactly.
investigation do they have? Because it's
So,
all now in
so
the
after
car.
that, they can pick you up and then
He
you guys
just
went to
drove
the
right
tournament?
around, got out there, picked me up, and they're standing there, we left. You know what I mean? Because it's like, come on. They know they're overstepping their boundaries, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Right? So that's it's on to that. So, failure to identify, right?
So did he get to leave or what? What happened?
He left, right? Like, listen, I walked over the little thing, hopped the fence. Then, once there was no one left for them to investigate, they're like, we can't hold him for anything.
You can't because you already said no.
Exactly. So then he got in his car, went around the fence.
Okay.
We picked us up and we went back on the highway. By that time, the supervisor was already there. And the supervisor, because we hopped the fence and we just kept walking, right? Because I'm like, yo, the farther we get away from the situation, the less likely they're able to do anything to this guy because there's no one there to investigate. They pulled him over for the HOV lane.
HOV lane, yeah.
By the time we were walking, the supervisor came and the supervisor was like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
Okay, last maybe 2 weeks, I'll share a story, maybe like how I could have dealt with it, because it's some real shit, it could happen to anyone. So like last 2 weeks ago, I was supposed to be going to New York. So I Greyhounded it, and then they basically I didn't have a round trip, so I only had a ticket going one way.
Yeah.
So so maybe, you know what I mean? And so basically there was an albino I could have went to, and there was a Moor, you know what I mean, at the border. Basically, I'm like, yo, let me support my people, you know what I mean? Trying to build rapport, so I went to him. But the Black Americans are the worst. And I'm finding
Should have went to the Europeans.
Yeah. So I went to him. And basically started like I felt a little comfortable, so he's asking me like, I'm just saying, you know, I'm just gonna go down there, check out some gyms because I work out and stuff, being very laid back. So basically he picked up on that vibe, on that that laid back vibe, and he starts basically saying that holding me back longer, asking me more questions, but basically eventually he started searching through my shit, and I'm like, no, you know what I mean, I don't consent to it. And then he's like, you can't go on the bus. So just I watch a lot of this stuff online, but in the moment, you know what I mean? It's just like I didn't act on what I knew. So basically went through all my shit, and then they basically said, because I don't have a round trip, plus I don't have a good story, plus I didn't have like cash. You know what I mean? A good story for like a good story as to why I'm going there. You know what I mean? Etc. And not having enough cash. He said I didn't have cash. Like you know what I mean? Because I had my debit. Yeah. And plus I don't want to say I'm going for too much. Anyway, get to the point. Basically, he comes back and says, they basically take me to the back. You feel me?
Been there.
Yeah, okay. So but they went so far, and it can happen to anyone. You know what I'm saying? What they went so far as to take fingerprints.
Yeah.
Feel me?
Yeah.
Fingerprints and photos. Like now I'm in their system.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, so what?
So what could I have done? I just want to be in a way.
No, well, remember, you're in limbo when you're at the border.
Okay.
You're in between two corporations.
Yeah.
Right? So, how you doing, man? Good to see you again, man. Alright. Yeah. So, well, basically what it is you're between two corporations. Yeah, you could say, well, I'm an Aboriginal Indigenous. Okay, alright, stay there. So you should stay between those two corporations. Yeah, you're on the land, but you don't have any way of getting back to the Canada side, you don't have nowhere to get back to the US side, so it's like you just, okay, whatever you need, just take. Make sure you reserve your rights on whatever, when they ask you to sign whatever. That's all. That's all. They're still gonna deal with the corporation.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it's like, what are you gonna do? Stay on the bridge?
I got you. So did I have to consent to the fingerprints? What if I said no?
It's not a matter if you consent or you don't consent. Remember, as I said, you're
You're
in their
going from
jurisdiction.
corporation to corporation.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
So
it.
that's just what they do in their corporate
Yeah.
Okay.
in their corporation, in their jurisdiction.
True.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I'm subject to whatever.
To whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
But did I
it's-
have the right to say like I don't consent to search?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
But
for
they
sure,
would've said
for sure,
that.
yeah.
Then I would've.
Yeah,
Probably,
yeah,
probably
they
restrict
might-
them from traveling. So,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you can't come this way then if you don't give this.
Okay.
If they're coercing you into, you know what I mean, giving it
Yeah.
up. Because now you're in a way, am I gonna really just go all the way back now?
Exactly.
Or am I just gonna get my stupid fingerprints done, take a picture and go about my way?
But they didn't let me on my way anyway. That's
Yeah,
that's
but that's right.
bullshit.
So that's the
bullshit.
that's the secondary.
Yeah.
That, you know what I mean? It's like when we say with people who go to stores and put on their nationality card and say, you know, I got this stuff right here, no taxes. And then they're gonna say, well, we don't accept this or whatever. You know what I mean? You know, you might just say, okay, well, whatever, and pay for the stuff because, you know, you need whatever,
Sure,
whatever.
or you just
know what I
walk
mean?
away.
Or you
Okay.
just walk away.
Got you.
You know what I mean?
Basket
Yeah.
of stuff
Leave
right
the stuff right there and just walk out
You're
because
not trying to walk like 4 blocks, yeah.
what's the sense? You know what I mean? So it's the same thing that if, you know, as soon as you say, like, because they would have probably gave you some insight that you're not going to be able to go over because you only have one way anyways.
Exactly.
Right? So on that alone, as soon as they start doing the search and you say, oh, I don't consent or whatever like that, oh, well, I don't consent,
True.
then I ain't, you know, I don't need to go nowhere.
Last thing, I don't want to take up too much time, but the last thing is that it got to the point where I was like, okay, basically, you know, the fingerprints, I already knew after they did that they weren't going to let me go.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, okay, what happens if I don't consent to this? Then they're like, you'll be detained.
Yeah, so
You
so
Exactly. There's not a coercion.
so now they're getting into their why we say highwayman, not police, because now they're doing their mercenary
Shit, sorry.
tactics or whatever. You know what I mean? That, well, because you're not consenting to giving them jurisdiction over your body, right? They're gonna say, okay, well, we're gonna take your body then. But then, you know, they have the right because you're a ward, so they can take the body if they want.
Right.
Because the body's in their jurisdiction. You know what I mean? Like it's we can say that it's a catch-22 when you're dealing with them with certain things.
True.
You know what I
The
mean?
best thing I could have done is just say I'm going back to Canada. Okay, got you.
And then that's, you know,
That's it.
and then you just go back. You know what I mean? You count your loss because, you know, you're not gonna be able to go anymore.
How long
but-
could they, you know, I gotta talk to a lawyer, but like how long, like if
No, you don't need to speak to
you don't have to be too, but how long could they detain me? Like 48 hours?
as
Like,
long as
As
they
long as
want.
they
as long as they want? Until I
because
give them
it's-
info?
because
Or until I
of
get a lawyer?
because the war.
Wow, that's serious.
You know what I mean? That's why we say, like, for example, right? Like with Amari's situation, right? Going to the border, same thing, you know what I mean? Getting detained, but his was because of a warrant,
Okay,
right? So they said, okay, well, we're detaining you because of the warrant.
okay.
But they never called him by the name on the passport the whole time. They called him by the name on his nationality card,
Okay.
which means that you know, they weren't looking at him from the ward position, because even with the warrant, when he came back, they let him go when they brought him back here. You know what I mean? It's not like they said, okay, we're gonna take you from there, right? And then we're gonna put you over here, and then now you have to stay here detained. They let him go because they don't have jurisdiction.
Got you.
You know what I mean? Even though it was a warrant. Even though they said we have a warrant for this guy. But the warrant wasn't really for him. The warrant was for the name on the corporate document. You know what I mean? So, you know, they kind of got themselves in and out. You know what I mean? Because they can't detain him because they know that he's not a warrant. You know what I mean? If they detained him, then, you know, they're kind of violating international law because they know that he's not a ward. He has a nationality. But then if they don't detain him, it's going to give power to the fact that he has nationality. You know, Moorish talk, he's going on YouTube and start promoting that, you know. Hey, this is what it is.
So
Right.
what rights like the Canadians have when they're traveling there? Like as a, like I know that sounds like a very like.
Well, from the wardship position, they're gonna tell you that Charter of Rights and Freedoms, you know, you're not detained and you can't be detained or whatever like that. But that's as a person. That's as a corporation. So it's not really rights; it's privileges.
Okay.
But they say rights to get people to say, oh, sure, you know, Charter of Rights and Freedoms. But
That's a hustle.
it's privilege.
Yeah, 'cause
It's not really rights
Can be-
under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Wow.
Because rights are something that are inalienable.
Hmm.
Rights are not something that some paper is giving you right. Right? It's not, that paper doesn't give you rights. Government doesn't give you rights. Either you're born with them and you exercise them, or you don't have them. A majority of people don't have them because they don't have the knowledge of
True.
what, you know what I mean, rights are, what law is, what,
So
you
if the
know,
charter doesn't have the rights, where can you find the rights? Are you saying?
the rights are, yeah, the rights are with you.
Okay, okay.
You know what I mean?
They're
This
not
this is
to your
why,
feet.
yeah, this is why Drew Ali said the thing of study and, you know, study and,
Okay.
you know.
Okay, I won't take up that much time.
But
Thank
no,
you,
no,
man.
it's all
Yeah.
part of, you know what I mean? Because, you know, like we have to realize that we've been left in the dark.
For sure.
Only us.
Yeah.
Because trust me, you know, Chinese, Turk, whatever, going through stuff like what we go through when we deal with these people.
It's good. Yeah, I seen.
We're the only people that go through
I seen
this madness.
a lot, like I seen other people just going.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like those two chicks right there probably got like 2 keys.
Yeah,
of
2
coke.
keys or whatever.
like for
Yeah,
real,
like real
if,
talk.
If you want,
Yeah.
like, if you want
Yeah.
dope move across the border, like that's who I'm gonna hire. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
to university, get like a 4th-year university chick that's behind her no tuition. You know what I mean? She'll get through no problem.
Yeah, it's not gonna be an issue.
Real.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I can add something with with my situation that transpired yesterday, because what I do is like when I read the Holy Quran, at first I read it straight through, and then the second time I read it, I'm reading it and I'm making notes. And I always used to hear you guys saying, you know, man knows not by being told. So I came across that saying, man knows not by being told, man knows by being what he knows. When I was in this, like, what I keep that replaying in my head, and when I was in the situation yesterday, I wasn't thinking, I wasn't reaching for something, I wasn't trying to figure out, well, what did Tash Bay say I should do in this situation? It was more like I knew who I was. You see what I'm saying? I knew I was a Moor, and I didn't even have to tell him that I was a Moor. I just told him, like, listen, what you're trying to do right now, I know that you know that it ain't going down like that. You know what I mean? Like, I know that, and you know that I know that. So when I was in my situation, I was confident. I wasn't stretching. I wasn't looking like, yo, these guys are violating right now. So what should I do in regards to the violation? It was more like, you know what? I know I'm a Moor. He knows, by the way I'm speaking, that I know what I'm talking about. And then at the end of the situation, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, that aggressive behavior that they were portraying, all of a sudden became passive. And all of a sudden, they tell me I can do whatever I want to do. But I already knew that before he said that I could do whatever I wanted to do, and that's the way I was acting anyway. You know what I mean? And
But you see the way you're talking to them, right? You're not talking to them like a fool, right? And it's like what they expect from us is like ignorance, right? And then they expect fear from you, right? So they could do what they do.
exactly, and that's another thing the prophet says too, is like talk to them in an intelligent tone.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And you know, like before I started recording, like, you know, I was a little agitated, and I was like, nah, man, intelligent tone. So by the time the camera came back on, I was like, okay,
I got this.
Yeah, I got this now. Good. So you know, you said talk to them in an intelligent tone, you get a favorable reply.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? I just watch those words live out in front of me. You know what I mean? And it's all about not. It's all about not being told what you know. It's about being what you know. You know what I mean? So as you study, you gotta take that information. You gotta internalize it. Once you internalize that information, you start being who you are.
Yeah.
And they can feel the frequency. They can feel the vibration.
Knowledge is power, man.
Yeah.
Definitely. Being yourself is power too.
Yeah, that too.
So that's what I wanted to add.
You know, and that's why Drew Ali said, you know, be yourself.
Yeah.
Like, why would you be what you're not? And then expect things to go in your favor if you're not being what
Proper place.
you're not being your proper person. You know what I mean? It's like people who like if we look at, you know, the people on the sports or whatever that aren't the big name. You know what I mean? And then they get the chance to take the shot. You know, if they take it and make it, and now they're getting a little extra on their check next year. You know what I mean? But if the same guy is always taking it, ain't nobody else getting no shine or whatever. Look at the Bulls or whatever. Only in the last year, Jordan said, okay, you know, let our next guy take a shot just to make him look good or whatever like that. You know? But if you're gonna be what you know, you have to have the knowledge of who you are to be that. You know, you can only be what you know with the knowledge. If you don't have the knowledge of who you are, right, then you can't be that. So in situations like, you know, like with Amari's situation again, you know, it wasn't even him talking. They knew because he had both things. There was a nationality card, and then there was a passport. Now, they're going to make a decision on which one is he. You know what I mean? For them, they're going to say, well, he's probably this one that says nationality on it, and he's not this one that says nationality Canadian,
No sense.
right?
Well, they know that, that's the corporation.
That's the
itself.
that's the corporate.
That's the fraud
You
itself.
know what I mean? That's why even some more say that, if situations like that happen, you give them both. Here's license and here's nationality card. So now you guys do whatever you know.
Back and front now.
You know what I mean? Now what? Who you want to deal with? If you want to deal with the straw, then here's the thing. I'm gonna take my thing right here and I'm out of here. You guys can talk to that card if you want to. That's not me. You know what I mean?
That's with the reserved rights.
Yeah, right. So, and like we know the pressures that are out there. You know what I mean? Like they want to they want the pressure cooker whistle going off without you putting the water on it before you open it. If anybody uses a pressure cooker, they want you to just bust the pressure cooker, right? They don't want you to run the water on it first. Because you run the water on it first, then now you could enjoy your meal or whatever. You know what I mean? Before that, you just open it, you're cleaning up the kitchen, you might get yourself burnt too in the process. And they know that. So that's why what the brother's saying, that it's the energy. But the knowledge that you have is what creates the energy that they either want to or don't want to deal with. You know what I mean? Because once you have the knowledge, you as a being are going to vibrate on a different frequency when you engage these people. Like it's automatic. The more knowledge that you get, the more of a frequency you're going to vibrate on. It just depends on how are you utilizing that frequency. Are you going to be somebody with knowledge that, unlike Supreme, that's going to be riled up and well, I know the law, I know. Trust me, these guys are going to come at you on some levels that you don't want them coming to you because they're the ones with the gun, badge, cuffs or whatever like that. You know what I mean? Billy Club, they have taser. You know what I'm saying? They have their frequency. Just like people, just like say, all you did was ride by and people are in the car panicking like, oh shit, oh there they are, oh they're gonna pull us over, and then you start creating that reality, and then then they pull over because that's what you had in the thought process.
Ask this,
You know what I mean?
This guy, this morning coming, I saw one of them, and I told him before, I used to be like, and now, without the license, I don't even see them. I don't even see them.
Yeah.
That's smart. I tell you, you can tell you. I don't even
Like
see
you're
them.
invisible.
Yeah.
100%.
But it's an energy.
Yeah.
It's frequency. But that comes with knowledge. And again too, like I mean, there's like Drew Ali said certain things that lets you know that he was on a different realm when he presented "You're not Negro, black, colored" to people. And once we take that and we adopt that, then we take some of that energy that he was exercising back then to be able to do what he did back then as a quote unquote black man or black Cherokee or whatever, to go around, go to president, tell them go in the vault, go bring the flag out and all that stuff, and they do it.
Good.
They know exactly what he's talking about. You need to go get the flag that you guys took down back 1700 or whatever like that, and they're bringing the flag out. He's going to Cuba, going to Pan American Conference, and everybody at the Pan American Conference is waiting for him to come to show up. You know what I mean? That's why even again where's that law dictionary at? Charter.
Charter?
Yeah. Right? Of rights and freedoms. Right? So they say that the Constitution Act, right? Constitution Act has these rights for Canadians, right? And then they never ever show you this. All they do is post this. When you go to government, whatever, as far as rights.
That's the privileges.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
right? They'll say that the Constitution Act has the Charter of Rights and Freedoms within it for the Canadian citizens to have the rights of rights to do this, right to do that, right? But they never post this part. They always only post this. If you go anywhere, schools, hospital, or whatever like that, they always have this in some book form or whatever that you can get this. But they never show you this. They only show this. Right?
That's kind of crazy too. That's the Constitution Act.
Yeah.
Charter, an instrument emanating from a sovereign power in the nature of a grant, either to the whole nation or to a class or portion of the people, or to a colony or dependency, and assuring to them certain rights, liberties, or powers. Such was the Great Charter or Magna Carta, and such also were the charters granted to certain of the English colonies in America. A charter differs from a constitution in that the former is granted by the sovereign, while the latter is established by the people themselves. A city's organic law. Then gives a case law.
Okay, read that, back up that part about the Constitution and Charter, the difference.
1 second, Cujo, put grant on there too. We're gonna go into that word. I always like that word. Grant.
A charter differs from a constitution in that the former is granted by the sovereign, while the latter is established by the people themselves.
Right? So a charter is different than a constitution. Right? Because the former is granted by a sovereign and the latter is granted by the people. The Constitution Act had nothing to do with the people. That's why they never talk about this as far as laws in Canada. But then when you talk to, people of United States Republic, all their rights come from a constitution. Everything that they talk about as far as rights in the jurisdiction below Canada, all their so-called rights come from the document called Constitution. Why? Because in the foundation of this, it talks about we the people, because the people are the one that made this up. But in this jurisdiction, the people had nothing to do with this. So the only thing that they got is a charter. The charter is granted by a sovereign power. The charter is for
Come inside.
Canada.
When what?
Well, Canada is a corporation, not a country. So the sovereign power that grants this for this corporation is the Queen.
Isn't that where the dominion of Canada comes in, though?
Right.
In reference.
But then again, right, when you say dominion, that's not a country. That has nothing to do with. That's a.
Dominion is a grocery store.
Right. So the grocery store.
And a bank too, right?
Right. So Toronto Dominion, right? So the grocery store and the bank, right?
Which is what it is.
Which is what it is, right? The grocery store and the bank, Canada, right? Got their sovereign power from the Queen through the charter, but that's not rights. That's privileges.
But then
That's privileges.
But then we have to, as I said, that's why I put up the word grant on there, because who grants,
Queen.
right? Who has the power to give the grant?
Right.
And when we look at the word grant in certain, like when we go down, it says the Great Seal. Who's the Great Seal?
Who's the Great Seal? Who's the power?
Who's the
Who's
power?
the real sovereign power?
Who's the real sound?
The real sovereign power are the Aboriginal Indigenous people.
Exactly.
That's why the Moorish Temple of America has a charter. And then the Moorish Temple of America's charter comes from Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who was Aboriginal, Indigenous, Cherokee, native to the land. So that charter has more power than this charter, because this charter is coming from the Queen in land that's not even her land, to even say that she could grant a charter. Because the jurisdiction of the Queen is only in Europe. She doesn't have jurisdiction over here. She has jurisdiction over a corporation here, but she doesn't have jurisdiction over the land here. But if people keep calling this a country instead of a corporation, then they give her that jurisdiction.
Why don't you just call it a trust?
See that too? But which again, even if we call it trust, it still means that it's not a country. So there's no such thing as citizens of a trust. So all these people who call themselves, oh yeah, we're citizens, they're not taking off their hat for stuff and all that when baseball game and all that.
Well,
There's no sovereign power in this land called the Queen. In Europe, there's a sovereign power called the Queen, but there's no sovereign power in these Americas called Queen.
I didn't want to. Sorry, I didn't want to.
Oh no, you're
detract
not.
from
You're not.
what's
Don't
going
worry.
on, right?
Don't worry. You had something, sis?
I was going to say the Magna Carta, I read somewhere about it being pretty much compiled together by the Queen and the people.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
It's accurate, but you know, just like the Constitution, the Magna Carta comes from individuals who. The Magna Carta comes from law that was pre the Magna Carta.
And they
And then they constructed it for their own personal whatever. Just like, same thing with this. Constitution, the American Constitution, comes from the great law of the Great Peace, which is Aboriginal law, right? And Muslim law. That's why Barack Obama went around and said, yeah, you know, my country was founded on the principles, and then that's why Thomas Jefferson had a Quran, and he took it in the Quran, but all these guys are supposed to be Christian though. But they're taking oaths on the Quran. So why? Well, I thought they're Christian though. Oh, but in the open they're Christian, but in the underground they're Masons. They got fezzes on that say Alhambra, that say El Bay, that say Sheba, and all this stuff. But then in the open, you know, they're Christian. Jesus is their Lord and Savior and all that stuff.
So what do you say Obama is?
Huh?
What do you say Obama is?
Obama?
Yeah, what is he?
Well, he's part of the U.S. He's a U.S. corporate president. Just like all the other corporations out there have a president. The corporation of the president is U.S. And then don't be surprised when the next president is the biggest corporate mogul of all, Donald Trump.
Oh yeah. That's so funny to me.
When he becomes president, maybe then people would realize that this is a corporation.
If he becomes president.
Well, he'll be president.
100%.
There's no way.
No way.
Don't forget, John Wayne was. Ronald Reagan. Don't forget, Ronald Reagan was.
There's
You know,
a lot of things going on though.
That's an actor.
So it's like
That was president.
when they throw distractions at you, he's a part of that. I
And
think.
yesterday I was watching, and they're saying on CNN.
All right. We'll talk, huh?
Yeah.
Peace, brother. All right.
Yeah, this guy is the kind of things that he's saying. You know what I'm saying? They don't allow him to say these kind of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but again, remember that the only reason that he can talk the way that he's talking is because U.S. Since 1933, they've been dissolved, bankrupt and insolvent. So from 33 to forever, they're dissolved, bankrupt and insolvent. And then remember that Canada is part of this, so they're bankrupt, dissolved and insolvent too.
So is Mexico, right? Because this is the North
This is the North American, the NAU, the North American Union.
Mexico still uses republic.
And Mexico, you know, that Mexico is similar to. You can look at Mexico the same way that we look at Quebec.
Yeah.
They're kind of
there,
they're kind of there, but they're not really there because, you know, we have our own language and, you know, we're sovereign and we're gonna be over here. We'll say whatever, you know. If something comes up, you're meeting or something, okay, fine, we'll meet with you guys. But really and truly, we don't even. We're not even having nothing to do with it.
I got a question to ask.
Yes, sir.
You raised the word power, right?
Yes.
How does one attain power?
Well, in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple, we're taught that power is an illusion. It's really about force,
What kind of force?
divine force, universal force. Because power can be given and taken away. Force can't.
Right. How many brothers and sisters understand how does one exercise divine force?
Not too many.
This is an opinion. I think the reason why we lack power is exactly what you just described. The lack of the ability to exercise divine force.
Right.
And understand what it is.
What it is, right?
Yeah.
Right. And this is part of, you know, like when we say, you know, knowledge is
Well, right. But then knowledge comes from within.
right.
If you're on a divine course,
Then you have access. You would have access to to the knowledge,
To the knowledge.
which would give you the power.
Right.
Right. Same thing with.
It sounds cyclical. But
Yeah. Oh yeah. It is. You know, and cyclical because, you know, that's the divine
360.
That's what
frequency.
It is.
That's what it is.
Yeah. But you see, the reason I raise the question is because a lot of energy is spent in trying to understand the system.
Yeah.
Right? But the system is all designed by man.
By man.
Right? And where did that knowledge to design such a system come from?
Right. Yeah.
Right? And so there's a saying that goes, all men are, you know, the world is a stage, and all men are players.
Our players.
So it's a question of what you want to play.
Right.
You want to play the
what
fool,
part? Yeah. Or do you want to play the ruler?
or you want to play the ruler.
Right.
I think too many of us are led to believe that, you know, playing nothing is better than playing
They're
something.
playing something, right?
But when you're nothing, you're the ball. You get tossed across the
Right. Just go back and
Back
forth on
and
that.
forth, right?
Perfect, that's perfect.
Exactly.
So I mean,
Exactly.
the whole my whole approach is to simplify it,
Mm.
so that brothers and sisters can understand where the true power lies instead of, you know, meandering all over the place. You know.
Right. For sure.
Well, it also has to do when you speak on playing the balls. Like, once you know how the game is played, in terms of like playing chess, if you know how to play chess, like you know all the rules, you know all the moves that the other man's gonna make, that you're gonna make, it makes it a little bit more simpler for you to navigate. It's like Supreme. He knew what the policy enforcer was gonna say to him, intrinsically. And then he knew what to say back to him. Because it's like, okay, you spoke to me first, but now you're asking the driver for his information. So, like, which is it? Which do you want? So you know what he's gonna play, so that you play your move, and he cannot overstep your move until you make the next move.
Certain pieces can't do
Certain pieces can't do nothing
Right.
until that piece.
And he's also at the disadvantage because he doesn't know what I'm gonna do.
Right.
Exactly.
He's at the disadvantage. I know exactly. I know everything he can do
Mhm.
and where he'll overstep himself. But
Exactly.
he doesn't know. Like when I opened my mouth, he was just like,
You don't know where.
And then that's when he ran back to his cruiser. So
Yeah.
what Amari's saying is right and exact. Cause they don't know your move.
That's checkmate.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. 100%. And even, sorry, I don't mean to cut you. Go ahead. Sorry. Even to use chess as a good analogy, when I called his head office and I got his supervisor to come down, I basically laid him. I laid the trap.
That's it.
You see what I'm saying? Like I'm at, it's like chess thinking 2-3 moves ahead.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I thought 3 moves ahead. I said I'm not even gonna ask him to call the supervisor so he can go back there and waste time.
Exactly.
By the time he gets back here, he's gonna be like, oh, so I heard you asked for the supervisor. Like he's telling me he heard.
Yeah.
Because I didn't ask him.
Right,
I called in and said, yo, send him down here.
You went right to the king.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was already in a box now. He's just like, man, how am I gonna get out of this? And his way out of it was basically fold. Like, yo, you guys, you can do whatever you want. You go do what you want. You know, no one's holding you here. You know what I mean? So that's a good analogy.
You played him like a pawn, man.
Yeah, he was a pawn trying to make 2 moves.
Right,
Exactly.
Pawn trying to be king, queen or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, right?
Yeah.
And
Checkmate on that.
and it came down to, you know, again with once we take, you know, because Supreme's not nobody been in this 20 years or nothing like that. He's new in this information, right? But he takes his time to intake the information. It's not just, oh wow, this said that, oh, so I'm gonna go. It's about putting it in, let it digest, let it marinate, let it simmer a little bit before you start using. You know what I mean? You want to make sure that it resonates with you before you exercise it, so that it can have the force, or the divine would step in and talk through you to this guy. Instead of you as the individual talking to them, you have now the higher forces, ancestors, whatever you want to call it, using you as a conduit to get the message to these individuals that, you know what, you don't want to be messing with me or whatever, because I'm not the one. You know? Sorry, you had.
Yeah, I was gonna ask the brother, how were you able to make a phone call on your phone? You were able to call him. He never took your phone from
You
you.
can't tell me nothing.
He missed the video.
Yeah, and so basically to sum it up was, my brethren was navigating his car, and we got pulled over. Long story short, pulled over some bullshit reason. You know, the car is a good-looking car. You seen brothers in there. You know what I mean? He wanted to cause some trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when he comes in, he was basically telling my buddy who was on charges, so he's nervous. So he's there throwing out all the information, giving it out to the highwayman, and I'm telling him, don't worry about it. Like, I'll handle the situation. I'm like, this is easy. You know what I mean? It's nothing big. He's talking about he came here to see if there's passengers, so-called passengers in the car in the HOV lane. And I'm like, yo, that's already been dealt with. As soon as the window came down, he seen that there was so-called passengers. There's nothing left to talk about. My buddy being on charges is nervous. He's just giving the man his paperwork, giving him his license and everything, right? Long story short, the man takes his information, goes back to the car, comes back, says, oh, some homeboys on charges, we need to make sure everybody in the car isn't part of his restrictions. I just told him, no, it's not happening. Nobody in here is operating this motor vehicle, as you call it. So none, on the Highway Traffic Act, no one can get charged with failure to identify. As guests is what I call us, because that's what we are. As guests in his conveyance, I'm like, no one needs to identify themselves. So he started going back and forth, and he's like, we'll see about that. So when he went back to go radio in and call for backup, I just called OPP head office, because that's who he was working for. I called OPP head office. I was like, listen, one of your little highwaymen is here. You know what I mean? He's unlawfully requesting my identification. Send your supervisor down here so I can rectify the situation, because I'm not gonna waste time talking to this guy, and he's gonna act like he knows law, and he knows this, and he knows that, and he's gonna be arguing statutes and acts, and I'm not dealing with statutes and acts, so that doesn't apply to me as a Moorish American. That doesn't apply to me, so your statute and acts means nothing to me. Why am I gonna argue this with a low-level guy? You know what I mean? A guy with a grade 12 education, doesn't make sense. So what I did is I called the supervisor. I was like, yo, send the supervisor down here, because the supervisor has to know a little bit more than that guy on his low level, you know what I mean? But by the time he came back, obviously radio's going off, supervisor saying, okay, I'm heading to the so-called scene or whatever, whatnot. By the time backup came, everybody came, they're like, okay, well, the supervisor's their boss, so they're thinking, yo, my boss is coming here. I'm not trying to get reprimanded for some nonsense I was trying to push right now. So that's when I was able to make the call, when he went back to the car. But even when he came back, because it was on video, I had my phone out. But what you do with your phone is you just let them know, I'm recording you guys for my safety. A lot of people like to say, you're at my safety. I don't care about your safety. I don't care about my safety. So as soon as they know that they're on camera, these guys don't want to be the next YouTube,
Different.
the next YouTube
Viral video.
sensation. So once they realize that they're being recorded,
Different.
and then that's what I did. So that's how I set them up. So got the phone out, put it on record, and called their supervisor and stated that, because I know that all they deal with statutes and acts, and like I said, like, most Americans don't deal with statutes and acts. They got nothing to do with us. Though I know enough from being dealt with few other situations when I was real green and got myself in some unnecessary situations, that highway traffic acts in certain respects, when they say they like to use failure to identify can only be used against the driver. So if I'm a driver, and we all know what a driver is, someone who's engaged in commerce, and I'm operating a motor vehicle for hire, and a policy enforcer comes to me and says, yo, identify yourself. As a driver, you're required to identify yourself. Even though that doesn't apply to me, I know that's how he's moving, that's how he's thinking. So I tell him, listen, nobody here is a driver. I'm like, nobody here is driving. Therefore, you can't use failure to identify on anyone in here.
And no one's a passenger, because passengers pay fares.
Exactly, and we didn't pay to get in the car, so I told him I'm a guest.
Taxi driver.
And then they try to be like, what do you mean a guest? I'm like, well, it's as simple as it sounds. I'm a guest. I didn't pay to come in here. You see what I'm saying? Because if I said I'm a passenger, whether or not my regiment said he's a driver, automatically makes him a driver. Because I said I'm a passenger, which means I paid, so he must be a driver.
But that gives jurisdictions over here as well, because a passenger pays.
A passenger pays. So now I'm under the Highway Traffic Act.
So he separated himself from the corporate policy by saying I'm a guest. Just like
those definitions are in the traffic highway act.
No, it's in the law book, and it states what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in the traffic acts, it's gonna tell you, driver, somebody behind the wheel, and we're gonna tell you the fraud, because they're acting.
So really, so what would you say you were doing? You weren't driving, you were traveling.
I was traveling. I was a traveler. I was a guest. Traveling.
He wasn't behind the wheel.
I was behind the wheel. I was a guest. You know what I mean? I was traveling with my virgin in his private conveyance. I was just a guest.
We're trained from day one.
For real though, that's what they do.
And that's why
when you're driving, you're supposed to say you're like traveling.
Yeah, you're a traveler, but we all know how that goes, man. Because I did that, and that's what I said. I did that when I was fresh and green. Did the traveler thing, went to the bin. Like they arrest you, they kidnap you, depending on your frequency. I was green, so I was more like experimenting rather than being who I know. Like now I know who I am, so that situation was light. You know what I mean? Before when I was experimenting, which is exactly what it was, I wasn't what I knew. I got kidnapped twice.
Yo, so what happened with that one? How did it go wrong? Because you could learn a lot more from mistakes.
What happened with that? Like first of all, they withdrew all the charges because as the case, the so-called case was going through. I was studying, like I was in the books, still am studying. You know what I mean? So by the end of it, they withdrew everything. You know what I mean? They lost paperwork here. They didn't have enough.
But how were they able to detain you?
They were able to do it because I didn't know who I was.
Because they got the badge and they got the guns and
basically they could do what they want,
no
matter what.
I'm asking, like, how did
at that time the conversation was I wasn't fully into who I was, right? So the conversation was I'm in the parking lot. I have to identify myself. Well, he's like, no, I see you driving. I'm like, well, I was traveling. But now, when I didn't say I was traveling, I was like, I didn't even go into that. I was like, yo, I'm in the parking lot. I don't have to identify myself. This is private property. Oh, yeah? Window got smashed out. Backup came. I got dragged out, handcuffed, and brought up to Maplehurst.
And if you knew better, what would you have said?
If I knew better, at that time I didn't have a nationality card, right? So even though I was saying that, I wasn't saying anything. I was just saying that I don't have to identify myself. I would have ease myself out of the situation by being like, here, since I'm being forced, I'm being forced, here's my nationality card. You want identification, this is my identification, here's my nationality card. At that time, like I said, I was experimenting and I didn't have all my ducks in a row, so I had nothing to give this guy. You know what I mean? So it's just like, you think, obviously in their mind, they'd be like, oh, this guy probably on warrants, he's probably some wanted man. So that's when they smashed out the window. But now, it'd be a situation where like, I'm gonna go into the bin twice, for so-called driving offense. Now I'm in a situation where if they're trying to like get aggressive on me, I'm gonna give them my nationality card. You see what I'm saying? Because that's what they're asking for. They want me.
So you never had your nationality card during this incident?
The first 2 times, the first one, no, never had my nationality card. And that's when they were able to kidnap me and do what they want because they're looking at me as a straw man, and I had nothing to show that I am who I say I am. You see what I'm saying? And that's the difference between experimenting. Because even if you listen to some of the older videos, I said experimenting. Because experimenting is something you do when you don't know the outcome. You're trying to figure out the outcome, but now it's no longer experimentation. Now it's just me being who I am.
Now he's the scientist now.
Exactly.
Got it. I got you.
So
Yeah, they even give you hints at the insurance thing, like when if you wanted insurance and they ask you if you're traveling or driving for commercial purposes or personal. And we always say personal, but then we always go get a license after.
Right.
And stuff like that.
You had question or comment?
I don't even remember.
Can't remember. Sorry, I saw your hand up. You had something good?
Well, he's just basically asking in regards to the difference between a guest and a passenger.
Yeah.
Right, and a navigator and a traveler.
Yeah.
In terms of how the words are interchanged, and how it can be used and not used.
So and the low level people we see out here that pull us over or whatever, 90% of the time they're just following their stuff. You know what I mean? They got orders. Go out there. We need 500 tickets a day or whatever. Go give some tickets. You know what I mean? They're not dealing with law or anything like that.
I was just gonna add to what you were saying earlier about how the divine knowledge will come through somebody.
Yeah.
Because there are times that's why I say study, because there are times when you're put on the spot and out of the blues, I'm telling you, just this power comes into you and you know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're coming at you and you're just saying right on point and you're firm on your square and you just back off.
You know what's funny?
I've experienced it so many times, you know?
That's so true because when I watched the video, I didn't remember I said half that stuff.
You don't remember.
I was autopilot.
Till after, where did that come from?
Yeah. You want me to read the definition of passenger?
Yeah, you have it there?
Yeah. A passenger. A person who a common carrier has contracted to carry from one place to another and has in the course of the performance of that contract received under his care thereupon the means of conveyance or at the point of departure a means of conveyance. It says the above definition is not exhaustive. For one who goes to a railroad station to take to the next train in a responsible time before the time of the arrival of the train is a passenger, though he has not purchased the ticket. And the duties imposed by the relation of the carrier and the passenger obligatory on the railroad. So basically,
right. So now they're when we hear passenger, we just automatically think anybody sitting in the seat, not the driver.
Exactly.
But then they break it down further, saying, well, hold on a second, let's not even talk about cars and whatever like that. Let's talk about railway. Let's talk about taking a train from somewhere. Let's talk about going on a bus. Let's talk about, things that we can relate more to being a passenger. You know what I mean? Paying, having a charge, or contracting somebody. Taxi cab.
Yeah. There's a fee involved.
Where there's some type of fee involved. Some type of transfer of
fiat.
Whatever, energy, fiat, or whatever like that, in order to provide some type of service.
The bottom, this is a good one in regards to passenger, because it answers his question, because it says, one carried for hire or reward as distinguished from a guest who is one carried graciously, that is without any financial return except such slight benefit as customary as part of the ordinary courtesy of the road. So that tells you right there that a passenger pays and a guest is being carried courteously.
With his friend.
Yeah. So when you say you're a guest, you're saying that the person that you're traveling with isn't the driver.
Yeah, isn't the driver.
You see what I'm saying? And that's in the definition of passenger. It says passenger and guest is distinguishable. It cannot be the same.
Right. And the OPP didn't let that be known, but that's really what they were doing when he started talking. Then they didn't worry about the driver, whether he had stuff or not. It was irrelevant. They just dealt with the individual who was competent to talk, right? But the individual who was competent to talk, their mentality was always, nigger or whatever. We'll just get
smart ass.
Right. He just yeah, right. We're gonna give you something or whatever.
Yeah,
but then they go back to the car and the supervisor on the phone like, yo, what are you guys doing down there or whatever, like. guys calling me, telling me they come down and all this type of stuff, then, at that point they knew that, okay, you need to tread lightly with this one because he might know a little bit more than the average.
And he's on camera, so they got on camera, so they got to back out without
And I got
living up to
their
what,
badge
you know?
numbers
Yeah.
and their name on camera. And I'm telling you, like that, what that does is it's the same analogy like Amari's using in the chess analogy. Because now they're thinking like, yo, these guys making so much moves right now, and I'm not getting a chance to move or to set something up or to get him over here on our part of the jurisdiction. Because he's like, I got badge numbers on camera, my name's on camera, my supervisor's coming down. He's telling me he's a guest. He's telling me he's not a passionate. And the guy just by the end of it, these guys are just standing there like,
You're done.
no, go ahead, do what you gotta do.
That was the full court press on him. No baskets for the next
Sometimes
team.
they try to push it.
No
They try to
baskets.
push it, but when you start writing writs, they realize, okay, you know what? We need to back off now.
Yeah.
You raised a very important point earlier, and that is maintaining your cool. It takes practice.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of situations where we meet, there's a confrontation, and because of this color thing, a lot of us believe, well, it's all related to color.
Yeah.
But it's not. Yes, it is to some extent, but but isn't it also in relationship to the type of vibration you're putting out and what you're attracting?
Right. And again, like that's why we use Noble Drew Ali as a reference, because there's things that he said to us to remedy a lot of situations before they even start, right? So like when we're talking about dealing with them in an intelligent tone and things like that, those are things that Noble Drew Ali said. That's not stuff that we're just saying because it's common sense to deal with them proper. Like those are lessons that we were given.
Yeah.
Over the time of studying, you pick up these little things and then you start applying them, right? So this is a writing called A Divine Warning by the Prophet for the Nations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know law in the city hall and among the officials in your government, and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light.
Right. On that question of the law, I want to ask a question, right? Isn't law supposed to be an agreement between two?
Contracts are agreements between two.
Yeah,
law
but there's common law, right?
Right.
And there's statutory law.
Right.
Okay? I'm not talking common law. Common law is common law. You're supposed to know what's right or wrong, right? As long as you don't mess with me, I don't mess with you, that's it.
Right.
That's bottom line.
Right.
But when you start, I'm talking here statutory laws.
Well, statutory laws
or
acts.
Or whatever.
They're not really laws.
Well, you see, you use the word acts. And remember I said earlier, there's that saying that goes, all this world is a stage,
right?
And all men players.
Yeah.
It's an act.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So this is why I raised the question about power, right? And you don't want to be the ball because you got two players, but you got a third thing.
Right.
The ball being bounced back.
Yeah.
The question you addressed a while ago in relation to, or the point you made in relation to chess being a good analogy. It is a good analogy because the powers that be are putting this to the test in that they're programming computers to play the chess game. And the computers program all the possible moves so that there's no way you can win. Now they're hoping to use the computer to teach them how to play the game. Right? But now they're finding that even that's not good enough. So now they're now going on to quantum physics, where the outcome is not what you observe. When you're not observing, the outcome changes.
And then in I can't remember the guy's name, but the individual chess player that they started doing that for, because he was beating everybody. That they started making computers play people and all that type of stuff or whatever like that. He was getting his ass kicked by the computer so much until he realized that how you beat the computer is by spontaneity.
Yeah, being spontaneous.
Being spontaneous.
Yeah.
Not even going with what the move might be or the rule or whatever like that. You just
you just play your own rules.
You just play your own rules, and then you beat the computer, and then that's how he beat the computer. Because the computer couldn't register the spontaneous nature of the human being, because that's programmed.
Right.
It's a program that has, you know what I mean? Like, they have fill it up with programs, but you know, as soon as you go do something that's not part of the program, then you know what I mean? Just like the Matrix movie. As soon as Neo realized, oh, wait a second, I'm the one. Then he starts seeing the program and realize how to beat the game.
I'm asking these questions because, I mean, obviously, you know, without saying too much, I mean, well, the other thing too is this, and this is something we could set our own rules, right? But what I find to be the greatest weapon we can have is maintaining humility, no matter what the situation is. No matter how a person confronts you, if you can remain calm and not let it get to you, and that you beat them right there, right? If they ask you to do something, you do it. If it's not going to violate you in any way, just for the peace,
right?
Because they need that energy of conflict, to feed
feed,
So if they don't have that, there's nothing to feed. You just let them go.
Exactly.
And they fall in the
That's
way.
just like with his first situation, right? That after they bust the window and all that stuff, right? The so-called highwayman came out and said, well, all you have to do is give us a license. Because he was fighting it so hard. So his conflict led to them saying, okay, well, you don't want to give a license, then we'll bust the glass. And then go through all this stuff to have it get thrown out anyways, because all they wanted to do was just see that little card or whatever, that, you know, people come into this information and then they look at those things as, oh, if I give this, I'm going against the ancestors, well, it might not necessarily be that serious. You know what I mean? You just give the stuff, they verify everything, punch in the computer, you got no charges, you got nothing, all right, go about your business, they go about their business, no big deal. You know what I mean? So, exactly.
I'm going to throw this out a little hit, right? If you know you're going to be in a situation where you're going to be confronted by the so-called authorities, right? And you expect something like that to happen. You write out, I got laryngitis, on a piece of paper. Guy stops you, you give him that, he says, I got laryngitis, then you give him the ID. You don't need to say anything. The document speaks for itself. There's only two things he can do: let you go or arrest you. What else is he going to do? You can't talk, you've already told him. That's the story. That's as simple as that. You know, keep it simple. It's called keep it simple.
Keep it simple, stupid.
But it's funny because that's in line with what we're doing anyway with our paperwork. You know what I mean? Our paperwork does the talking for us.
Just put a piece of paperwork today. Read that. You know, you don't even have to say nothing. Give him that.
As funny as it is, that's a writ.
Really and truly,
That's the story. What he's going to tell you. It's over to that.
Right. What was that? Oh yeah, colored. Yeah, we were looking up colored because Jobo Joali said that we're not Negro, Black, or colored, so we just want to put colored out there so people are familiar with that term as well. Oh no, everything's online. Everything's online.
Just to clarify, this is the lawful definition of colored. So color, an appearance, semblance, or simulacrum, as distinguished from what is real, a prima facie, or apparent right. Hence, a deceptive appearance, a plausible assumed exterior, concealing a lack of reality, a disguise or pretext. In pleading, ground of action admitted to subsist in the opposite party by the pleading of the parties to an action, which is set out as to be apparently valid, but which is in reality legally insufficient. This part here, that's also misgiven. The other definition though for color, the word also means the dark color of skin, showing the appearance of Negro blood, and hence it is equivalent to African descent or parentage. Okay. A term of ancient rhetoricians and early adopted into the language of pleading. It was an apparent prima facie right, and the meaning of the rule that the pleading in confession and avoidance should give color was that they should confess the matter adversely alleged, to such an extent at least as to admit some apparent right in the opposite party, which required to be encountered and avoided by the allegation of a new matter. Color was either expressed, i.e. inserted in the pleading, or implied, which was naturally inherent in structure of the pleading.
So, if once you say color, when they said people of color, and then we related it to the end part where of African, dark skin or whatever like that, that's not really where they were going when they said color. When they say people of color, they're talking about fake people. So if you're a fake person, then that means rights don't apply to you, privilege don't apply to you, titles don't apply to you, office doesn't apply to you, authority doesn't apply to you, identity doesn't apply to you. You're just nothing. You're just fake. You're a simulacrum. You're imagination. You're not a reality, right? So we're not colored people, right? Just like we're not black because it's an adjective. People are nouns. We're not Negro because that's Spanish for black, which means we're not. You know what I mean? We're not that. You know, we're not Ethiopian because Ethiopia comes from Ethiops, which is Greek. And we're not Greek. That's not our language, so we can't be that. Right? So all these little things, you know what I mean, that as we go and we study and, you know what I mean, we read and do what the colonizer intended for us not to ever do, which was read, we start realizing what's going on, we start realizing the game, and we eventually free ourselves from physical and mental servitude.
On the question of read, right? A lot of legal terminology is written with verb, adverb, verb, right?
Mm.
It's all action words.
Right.
All interpretive, subjective. Okay? We should really be dealing with noun,
Right.
adjective.
Well, depends on the subject matter.
For accuracy's sake.
Yeah. For nothing's wrong with words from the 8 parts of speech once we're dealing with the denotative meaning. As soon as we go connotative, that's when we're getting into where you're talking about, well, we gotta watch what we say and can't use certain words or whatever, because the connotative meaning is what throws everything off.
Yeah. This is why I raised the point on contract as in regards to, in reference to
The acts.
To the act.
The acts, yeah.
As opposed to common law.
Yeah.
Right, because common law, everybody understands common law.
Right.
Right. But not everybody knows the acts.
Right.
Which could be a million of them out there.
Yeah, which there are a million of them out there.
Right. But then again, ownership of your property. Again, a lot of people think property means having a piece of acre out there.
Right.
But ownership, when I say ownership of my property, I'm talking about this here.
Right. The self.
Get ownership of this.
Yeah.
Right? Now that is something you can do in their system in regards to getting legal title of yourself. Right? If nobody claims you can claim you, and just like you put a stake out there and you live there for a certain number of years, nobody claims you take ownership.
And for dark-skinned people of African descent, that claiming our title is nationality. That's what our claiming our title is, right?
Yeah, having a national identity,
right?
In order to work within the
system. In order to be able to work in the system.
Okay, I got that.
That's where we're because black's not a nationality. Negro, colored, African, what those are nationalities.
That nationality.
It's not them allowing. It's us doing it and them. It's us recognizing that we're the ones that have the authority over our body.
Okay.
They don't.
Okay.
They assume jurisdiction over our body because we tie ourselves to these labels
Yeah.
that we think are identities but aren't really identities.
Yeah.
So when we say the black man or whatever,
Yeah.
all right, we just give them jurisdiction over our body.
Yeah.
But if we say the Moor, they know that,
That's
because
a nationality.
we know that's nationality.
Yeah.
They know that that's a nationality.
It's just like with the Queen, like you were saying, if we keep referring to her having jurisdiction over this part of the world, like and she has it.
Nobody's rebutting it, so
Right.
of course she does.
Yeah.
In that sense,
If nobody's rebutting,
Yeah.
right? Just like with us, if we don't rebut their claim of you're a driver, let me see your license. Or sorry, I'm a traveler. Then they're gonna go with you better have a license. If you don't, we're gonna take your stuff, take you and everything else.
How do you rebut something like you guys aren't indigenous to this land, like go back home?
No, they don't have to go back. They just have to, don't deal with me like you deal with all the other Negroes out here that you deal with. Don't classify me with them.
And they know they're not indigenous because it's in their history books where they say they came here.
That
Yeah.
was my point. I was gonna say, well, they know.
Yeah, they
These
know.
people know
Yeah.
the truth. They know.
No,
When I
yeah,
go on the
that's-
Parliament website, when I go on the Canadian Embassy website, you go on all and you look at what Native American or Indigenous is.
They say we're pilgrims.
They tell us it's us,
Yeah,
without
they say
saying
we're
it's us,
pilgrims.
because they put aside the Indian whatever, they put aside the Métis whatever, then they say the others
Yeah.
that do not or pretty much already know their own identity,
Right.
which I'm assuming is us.
Yeah. Or other
They have it there.
or others that aren't part of
The
the
societal
the-
something.
I've heard
Another
the
word.
Bureau of Indian
I heard
Affairs
sovereign
or
citizen.
Yeah, they're very
whatever.
smart with how they do their terminology, but they're talking about us.
When we be called sovereign citizens, I've heard
No,
no, that's different.
Yes,
Okay.
because what is a citizen?
Oh, I see. I've heard the term.
What is sovereign?
In regard to sovereign citizen. E Division, Criminal Intelligence Section, Provincial Intelligence Center, Officer Awareness Bulletin, Free Man on the Land, 2011. Free Man on the Land. Members of the Free Man on the Land can present risk to officer safety. Officers are urged to exercise caution in dealing with known or suspected members of Free Man on the Land. The Free Man on the Land is a libertarian and anti-government movement whose members believe that they are sovereign citizens and not subject to the laws of Canada. They also believe they have the right to use force, including deadly force, in defense of their land, property, and family. So this is RCMP. So RCMP has put out a bulletin since 2011
For the free man.
for the Free Man on the Land, aka the sovereign citizens. So as soon as you have a situation when if you go to court or whatever like that, they're gonna pull out this case called Meads versus Meads and try to tie you to that, because in that case is what these guys did their bulletin stuff and saying that, okay, you know what, these people who call us sovereign citizens, they're running a fraud. They're trying to say Canada's not a real government.
Oh,
They're
okay,
trying
okay. So we don't want to say
whatever.
that. Okay.
So we don't go with sovereign citizen or sovereign or things relative to what the European pilgrims who don't want to be pilgrims anymore, and they realize that, hold on a second, Canada's a corporation, the United States is a corporation, and me saying that I'm with that, so that means I have to expatriate out of that and I have to be something, but I can't be indigenous, I can't be native, I can't be whatever, so I'm gonna say I'm from the family of Smith and I'm a sovereign citizen, whatever.
Okay.
That's a fraud
Okay.
because they're European.
And the RCMP recognizes them as fraud.
Yeah.
And you gotta, like, through my experience, you gotta make that very clear.
Clear.
Because they're coming under
They
the
go there.
mentality like, oh, you're a
They
sovereign
go there.
citizen.
Oh,
So you gotta make it very clear. I'm not a sovereign citizen. I'm Moorish American. I'm not a sovereign citizen. I'm not into this free man on the land garbage. Because that's what they like when they're interviewing me. You come into the little interview room, so you're a sovereign citizen.
I
and,
think you're one of those.
oh, we've heard,
Okay.
we know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta make that very clear that you have nothing to do with free man on the land or sovereign
Yeah.
citizens.
Okay.
So we add on to the noble Juali, you are not Negro, black, colored, Ethiopian,
Okay.
or sovereign
Or
citizen,
citizen.
or African,
Okay, all of those.
or
Got
any
it.
of those things. We're Moorish American, we're Moors, we're Aboriginal, indigenous
Okay,
to the
got it.
land. We're not native, we're not Indians, because they have all these, we're not First Nations, you know what I mean? Because all these these misrepresentations are what they try to use to tie to us, because they realize that we're coming into the light. We're not supposed to be in the light. We're supposed to be in darkness. That's why it calls black people.
But I thought what you just read there by Noble Drew Ali, you said that he, the lawmakers or the people of the law want us to come into the light.
Yeah, because it's like, because it's a situation where we've been in the dark for so long, right? And us being in the dark brings darkness on humanity.
Yes.
Not just, you know what I mean, ourselves. Us claiming that we're black people and being black for so long, right? That allows us to be taken advantage of, but it also allows other people to get taken advantage of, because we're the parents of everybody. So if you beat the parents, you got the children. If you kill the parents, the children are under your jurisdiction. And humanity is our children. And we have an obligation, because that's why they shun Moorish history so much, because they know that we're the founders of civilization, and nobody has anything unless it comes through our people.
Doesn't that raise the question of having real as opposed to false values? I'm just throwing that in because a lot of us rely on setting certain parameters as being valuable. Right? So defining what is real value as opposed to what is false value is something I think, I'd like to hear something about.
For sure. From the perspective of value, we look at it like, what would you rather be, wealthy or rich?
Okay, that's a starting point.
Right? What because value is determined by
your perception.
Your perception of it.
Right.
But if your perception of value is, go in my pocket and pull out this paper right here, and this paper is what makes me, and I got stacks of this paper.
Okay.
Obviously, you're warped here, because that paper is not backed by anything, is it? Other than the people's faith in it. Whereas if somebody comes and says, well, he wants my value is based on this big rock of natural resource that I got from my own land that I can go dig up anytime or whatever like that, that's a different perception. Sure. And then somebody said, well, but that guy has a rock. Well, my ancestors said that we come from somewhere out there in the universe and we have dominion over galaxies. That person's perception of value is going to be way different than the guy who has the gold, platinum, or whatever, and then the other guy who has whatever. But it's the individual's perception that is going to create the value.
So that goes back to
barter. In our effort to lead each other out of darkness, isn't an overstanding of what real value and false value, a discussion that important?
Oh, for sure. We have to know.
Right.
We have to know. Yeah.
So that we can set our reference points in our movement. Right?
And that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying. If the reference point is dollars being
value,
or being paper or whatever, or the reference point of value, devalue. Yeah. So if our reference point of value is something that's devalued, obviously our perception of value is tainted.
Yeah, it's already tainted.
It's tainted already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then again, it comes back to with the information that when you engage different people, different cultures, but they'll tell you different things are valued. You talk to a Taoist, Buddhist. You know what I mean? They're going to tell you that all your value is internal. Forget anything that's outside of yourself.
Short sight.
Right?
That's like bartering. That's what we used to do. Like barter, like what's, what you can use, what has value to you and what has value to me.
But it depends, like if I have no cows and I need milk and you got all the cows, then
so that's the only
you're valuable.
That's the only real sense of wealth, then, really.
Depends. Yeah, depends.
Why I raise it? Because it's not something, I'm not saying that you know, it's not like throwing away the baby and the water and everything. You know, there's balance. There's, you know, try to too much of a good thing is just as bad.
It's just as bad as
too little, right? And so, from my perception, and this is where you know I really like to, you know, at some point here some discussion of that. How do we arrive at some level of balance between what is not so good, but you have to have a little bit of it to get out of it. But then when you get it out of something, it has to be to strive for something better, as opposed to something that I don't know if it's gonna work. Like you would say, experimenting, you know. Discussion on that, you know, is something.
It's something to
look at.
Yeah, most definitely. Sis?
Before I even get to my point, I was gonna say, based on what he's saying, I think that's an individual thing to get to that point and to do your experiments with that individual. But I was gonna go back to something that brother was saying. I was gonna say overall, everything that has consciousness in this existence, this universe or whatever, is governed by the karmic law of cause and effect. So y'all know this, you know, no matter what color they want to call us, no matter what culture, no matter what sex you are, whether you're male or female, right? So when the brother was saying that they're waiting for us to just come and do this, or they're going to help us, because they know karma. They know what they have done. They know what's going to come down on them if they don't just sit back and
That's
allow
true.
it. So really, that's really what should be the invisible thing that kind of propels us to just keep doing what we're doing, because they know this too. They feel it. Right?
That kind of answers the same question of reaching a level of balance. If it's way too heavy on one side, it's like I was just talking to my son a while ago that winning a game, when you win and everybody else loses, you lose too, because the game ends. The whole thing is to keep it into perpetuity. You know, you have to keep going. So you have, there's a point at which when you're winning, you got to start knowing when to start putting something back. Feeding the ox. If you're getting milk, you can't just take all the milk and don't feed the ox. Right?
Eventually you have no ox.
You have no ox, right?
I want to ask one question. Okay, I don't want to offend anyone indirectly, but at the same time, it's on my mind. Like, okay, so who can call themselves a Moor? Like, for example, my mom's light skin, right? We have like probably Portuguese in our family or something like that. Like going back to my great grandmother, like they're very fair skinned. So it's like, can I call myself as much as a Moor as somebody else? Like, I know it's a weird question, but like, for my mom, let's say for example, who's very fair skinned, can we call her a Moor because she has part Moor in her? How does that work?
Can I just answer that?
Sure.
Can you answer that? Are you a Moor?
Okay. There we go. So what's the no I know
it's about you inside. It's about your spirit.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with your physical.
So then can an albino call themselves a Moor?
Some of them are, because it's about your pineal gland, how calcified you are.
Oh, okay.
Because when you're totally calcified, like that sect, they can't be uncalcified really, because that's, and I won't say Caucasians, because some Caucasians, they're mixed with us too.
True.
Right? So there's a different breed that's more, I don't want to say Illuminati or whatever, but they're different.
Yeah.
But all the regular people, honestly, we're all the same.
Okay.
We're all the same, doesn't matter what color, which part of the planet you come from, we're really all the same. So we all came from him and me or...
But etymologically, doesn't the word Moor like go back to being dark skinned?
No, necessarily.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
There were,
No, it's not about color.
Okay.
There were like if we look at, like we were saying, true romance, right?
Yeah.
When brother was breaking down, the European was breaking down to the European that you have dark hair because you know your family, you got more in you. So you know you're part nigger, right? And the guy took offense or whatever, shot him up or whatever, right? Because he took offense that how dare you say that I have, you know what I mean, that in me, that tainted blood or whatever. When
I was watching online that one geneticist.
Like Dave Chappelle, you see Dave Chappelle,
yeah.
You dress up in the cape.
Right, Black Klansman, right?
Yeah, but he was blind.
I was watching online, there was one geneticist.
And then he broke up with his wife, but yeah.
There was one genetic scientist, and he was saying that a lot of, like, when slavery was taking place, right? a lot of the same slave owners, like they wouldn't have passed the one drop rule, basically.
Yeah,
Because they would have had more.
Because majority of them had,
scientifically.
Yes.
But they came to that now with advanced science. It's just very ironic that.
But you know, it's like, you know, what it comes down to is that the European doesn't have an indigenous claim. They can say that they're more,
They were invented.
but they don't have the claim that they're allodial. They can't say that we're free and, you know, we're the originals.
So they can't say we're indigenous to anything?
They're not indigenous to anything.
Huh?
They're the last gene.
Well, how does the Caucasus
That's why
Mountains
they
come into
discovered
it?
That's why they're like that.
North America.
I know I'm throwing out.
Say that again? No,
the Caucasus Mountains, because they say that that's where they came from, right?
Yeah, but I mean that's where they were put. But that's not where
Cool.
they
I got my own
were
side.
originally. Yeah.
Alright, that's cool.
You know, because even when we say Europe, Europe comes from Europa, which is a Phoenician dark-skinned
Still us.
queen.
Word.
So if the place where they're from is named after a dark-skinned woman,
It is what it is.
then you know what I mean.
Man,
and it's nothing personal
Everything
against
lying,
them.
yo.
It's nothing personal.
Basically, what they are is just watered
And-
down.
Watered
But
down Moors.
if they-
Bleached out Moors, yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they basically, when you come back to the darkness, you're just gonna watch that out. You know what
Okay,
I'm saying?
true.
It's coming back to the original.
True.
That's what.
Right? That's why they play the game of, you know, oh, well, you know, you get the light with the dark to try to get the dark out. Well, not really. You're just getting the light out if you do that.
Right,
you're
cool.
you're dissolving the recessive gene
Word.
if you mix the two, because dominant gene's always going to be dominant.
Word. Word.
You know what I mean? Even
And
when
that's
you
why they
have,
do the incessant thing.
right. Even when you have like real albinos are Asiatics that don't have melanin, not European people. You know what I mean? Like the real
who they
white
are.
man is
Except
like
it's
yellow
watered
man or
down.
whatever,
Yeah.
reggae singer.
Exactly.
So if they have
Blonde hair,
It's watered down.
you know what I mean? But he has our features,
True.
but he doesn't have any
And
skin
we passed them
melanin.
away because we
So
thought
I
they
should say
were
albino.
cursed.
Technically, I should say Caucasian.
Caucasian,
Pale skin.
Okay.
Albion, pale face, it's the
pale
same
face.
thing.
Well, some are more
Like, you
derogatory
know,
than others.
yeah, some terms are, you know,
Yeah.
would come as
Yeah.
derogatory or
True,
whatever, but
true, true.
the proof is what it is. You can't really, it is what it is.
So,
Like,
so
when you say
albino
that
can't have a
you're-
dark skinned baby?
Your
Yes, they can.
I mean, they can.
Or
You know,
So
Spanish
the
or-
genes are still there. It's
They
just-
can. The gene's there. The gene will always be there because they're part of us. Like eventually, somewhere down the line, there's gonna be a dark skinned one that comes out like, we're back.
Yo, it's just more times
Alright, makes sense.
when you see like the people who are like albinos or whatnot, it's just like their genetic makeup isn't like as pure or
Right.
the same as like the original man would per se, you know what I'm saying, for lack of a better term. So it's like, you know, because like not everything comes out perfect, man. You know, there's all types of certain situations and incest breeds other stuff and shit happens, so.
Can I just give an example?
Perfectly different.
Can I just give an example? I mean, like two people, I've noticed this just with my own eyes, that there are two dark people that come from the Caribbean and they will go to America, let's say, they migrate to the US, it's the corporate US. And based on the food that they eat, based on the food they ate, the environment that their child came out light,
Yeah.
very light, and they're both very dark.
Yeah.
So I really believe it's about the environment as well, the
That
environmental
too, yeah.
factors that affects
Yeah.
it. So if you're gonna take these albinos, or let's say from the warmer part that they were, and then we exile them because of the cursed skin, whatever the case, and they're in this decay for how long and there's no sun, they're gonna come out looking different.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be like, who is this?
Yeah.
But they're still us.
But it's
Because it comes
also
from the
in
tree,
the
right? So when you
breeding,
see
Yeah.
like,
Same thing.
Just
Yeah,
like what
man.
she's saying, I also believe that the mother, when she's conceived, even her own thoughts can determine what
It's
a
true.
baby
Yeah.
will
What the
look
baby
like.
look like,
If she
yeah.
wants a, like
I
a
agree
really
with
light
that
skinned
too.
I
baby
agree
in
with
her
that
mind,
too.
and that's her true desire. Oh, I want my baby to be so like this and this and that. She could basically bring that tuition to the child as well.
Right.
Yeah, all those are
Yeah. So yeah, there's factors.
factors in it.
Yeah, different factors, you know,
Uh-huh.
play a part. But yeah, so there it is.
But it's
Um,
not. Doesn't that also address the point you raised earlier, or we talked about earlier, of the power of the spirit in terms of what it can do? Because we tend not to, we talk about esoteric things, but we don't really overstand them. Some of us really don't understand what it's really all about.
Yeah.
And on a very scientific level, everything is based on frequency, vibration, right? And what is frequency and what is
The word?
Huh?
The word?
No, not the word, but on a very subatomic level. You know,
Right.
I'm talking about in the area of quantum physics.
Right.
A lot of us really don't know a whole lot about. But on that level, the laws change. You know,
Yes, yeah.
as Einstein called it, there's a law. It's so advanced. He called it an entanglement. You know, where there's no time or space or anything. It doesn't relate the same way as it does in this physical world that we understand.
There's time and space because everything's moving.
Yeah, in our physical,
reality.
On this present reality.
On the sub levels though.
Yeah.
Everything is energy.
Motion.
Everything's
Everything's
moving.
about
There's time.
Yeah.
Above two. Everything's in motion.
The Holy Quran goes in on that science as well.
Yeah. So if we have no more questions, let's close out.
I just want to put some stuff on the record too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
In regards to
And you were gonna talk about Grant.
no, well, we covered it.
Yeah.
I mean, we spoke about it last week in regards to what a grant is.
Yeah, I remember.
And who administers it.
Yeah.
Okay, more or less, you printed off some, right? The
Yeah,
membership forms? Okay, I'm gonna put together like a quick, like a little package for everyone to study on. But I wanna make something very clear in regards to the nationality card form. If you send it out by yourself to RV Bay Publication, and if you're in Canaanland, it's not a matter that they're not going to accept it, it's just a matter that they're going to have to call us to confirm it. So what we ask to do is that make sure that I send it. Give it to myself to send it down. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you have not handed in a membership form, right? A membership form in regards to becoming a member for the temple, a member for the Canaanland Moors, I will not accept these forms. The reason for that is I got to be able to vouch for you. Because if anything happens out there, if someone says, oh, well, I belong to the temple, blah, 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 and they say, okay, does he belong to the temple? I'm going to check. And if you show a nationality card and I don't have your form, you're not necessarily a member of the temple. Yeah, you could come every Sunday, yeah, but you're not a member of the temple. We're having issues with that because there's a lot of people across Canada, corporate Canada, and the US that are sending forms and saying that they belong to Canaanland Moors. Can't do that because we have to be able to vouch for you. It's not really an issue for me, it's an issue for you because when they send me the forms and say, do you know this person? I'm going to say no. Even though you sent your funds, I'm going to say no, I don't know them. Simple as that. So it's going to take time for you to get back get your card or whatever, but it's a fair enough importance for us to really get a grasp on organization. We don't want to be willy-nilly out there doing anything and everything. And as I said, if someone asks myself or Cujo or Omar, do you know this individual? Don't have it? No, we don't.
And this is just to protect from infiltration, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely, and that's the main.
Discrediting and stuff.
Yeah,
Absolutely, because as I said, a lot of people are going to be going to courts and say that they're sovereign citizen and belong to the Canaanland Moors, Moorish Science Temple of America. No, we're not sovereign citizens. Like, get that out of your mind. That's mainly it I wanted to speak on because as I said, I've received some emails this week and I've received some phone calls. Or where's my nationality card? How come I haven't got my nationality card yet? First question to them is like, do I know you?
And they're like, well, no, have you been to the temple before? No, well then I don't know who you are. I'm gonna keep it at that. I'm not being rude, it's just I don't know you. Simple as that. Simple as that, I don't know you. Oh, to get forms, and this goes for Moors outside of the territory as well too. A lot of Moors, I say like over in England, corporate state England, South and North Carolina, Florida, Al-Andalusia, they want nationality cards and they want to become a member of the temple. I will email you the membership forms. Just send it back to us. Don't email it back. Send it back with the mailing location on it, where you domicile, so I can send it out to you. Please, the email address at hotmail.ca. If you're in the U.S. territory, it's .com. I had to do that because I found that I opened up a hotmail.com account and I had like 20 messages and I never had it before. Because I was saying to send it to the .ca, but people in the U.S., they don't know .ca, so they know .com. Either .ca or .com. If you're in the U.S. territory, it's .com. And in the Canadian territory, it's .ca for Canada. If you can't see it, well, you heard me. What else? There's a lot I want to speak on, but it's kind of late right now. Coming up in January 3rd, 2016 is the Noble Drew Ali Day. We have, well, Cujo can speak more about it. We have Jose Pimenta Bay coming up. It's going to be a big one. And Seton Ra Bay from Philadelphia. So come out. It's going to be good. It's going to be held up at 24? Yeah, 2467 Eglinton Avenue East. It's over by Eglinton and Kennedy and Midland area. Come out. It's going to be good. It's January 3rd. It's going to be from 12 till 5. We'll probably have it later than that, but it's, it's going to be good. Don't want to miss it. And that's it. All right? So get at me, amarylb@hotmail.ca or .com. Peace, family. Yeah.
So we're just gonna close out. If we can have everybody rise and face the east, we'll just get our prayer out the way. And I want to say Islam to all the Moors online, and thanks for everybody for coming out today. It's all good. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation. By night, and by day, through His holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Islam. Ashe. Yeah, man. Good thanks, yo. Thanks for coming. Yeah, for sure. You already know, yo. Yeah, we'll be here, bro. We'll be here. There's a lot more.